Welcome everyone to the Modern Day Overthinker podcast. My name is Colin and I am your host. Today's guest is Ben Hagarty. Ben, I appreciate you being here with me and preparing for a snowpocalypse or whatever we're preparing for here in Iowa right now. So,
Yeah, we got some snow coming, baby.
yeah, and everyone's just going nuts at stores
Hmm.
and gotta love it. So for people listening outside of the Midwest, yeah, it gets pretty wild when because this is like the first snowstorm of the year, so everybody's just like gearing up
Yeah,
like it's gonna snow and it's gonna never stop snowing ever. It's always fun.
it's hilarious. It probably won't even snow tonight.
That was always the best. Yeah, you never
Uh,
know. But I wanted to talk about a few different things with you, but I want to get started by giving you a chance to introduce yourself, letting people know what you do, and then we'll kind of get into how we know each other and the story of where you started and where you're at right now.
yeah, and I'm first off gonna say thanks to Colin because we started this podcast and then started having to pee and I started overthinking about how I didn't feel like I was doing a good job. I was like, can we please restart? So shout out to you, man, for doing this again. I appreciate you.
No, you're good, man.
Um, yeah, my name is Ben Hagarty. I'm a video director from Cedar Falls, Iowa. I've been living in LA for like the last almost 9 years, and just moved back to Iowa recently for some family stuff. So now I just travel a lot for work. But I'm a video director. I run a podcast called Black Window Cream. It helps a lot of young content creatives. We dive into different topics. I interview different creatives. So definitely in the podcast space, and I have a production company too that we're in at the very early stages of releasing called Not About Us. Um, Generally, I produce and direct content for musicians, brands, a lot of short form content for social, and everything in between. Documentaries has kind of been my backbone, and just being in somehow tied in with music has been a part of my journey since I got started. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. But I've gotten a lot of cool opportunities to work with different artists. I've worked with my main client right now is Beyonce and Jay-Z. We've worked a lot over the last 5 years together. I've worked with a bunch of people. There's like I could do a laundry list. I'm sure we'll get to some of these people throughout the story, but them and big brands too. So I'm like very, very fortunate to do what I do and work with the people I work with. From a kid from Iowa, being able to pull that off is always dope. I got to pinch myself every once in a while to remind myself that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. So we met, yeah, back in probably 2009, 2010 when I was running the blog. Now that's college. Shout out to Now That's College.
shout out to it. Yeah,
Yeah, and you were in a hip hop group at the time, and we've talked, and you did a lot of music stuff. Were in bands, did a lot of touring, and that was your that was where you started creating, and then you started doing content for the bands that you were in, and that kind of gave you your start into content creating and your love for content creating, and you kind of build off of that. And so back during that time, you worked your way through college and decided at what point after college where you're like, I need to get out of here. You I know you've talked about you wanted to get out, but when did you decide, hey, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna move out to LA.
yeah.
I'm gonna try this.
I ended up moved in 2014 or 2015. Someone fact checked me, but I think it was like around that time period. And leading up to that, like you said, I've been in bands since I was in junior high all the way through college and a ton of different bands I had started. And at the time, we'd go tour with we'd literally be in like high school or right into college and like bought a 15 passenger van and we'd like pack everyone in it and go travel around the United States and perform in all these basements and do all these things, trying just to like get our name out there and writing and recording music. And then as I got into college, I met my homie Bai and we started a hip hop group because I was also like obsessed with rap music and shit.
Mm.
So we started we got a dope ass pack of beats from my boy Marcus Frisky. I'm giving a lot of shots right now. Um
Oh yeah,
but
go for it.
he gave me a beat pack. Me and Bai bonded over hip hop and shit. And we started this group called Schooled. So this was like junior year of college. well into out of college, and we made this thing and did it for several years, and we'd open up for all these different artists that would come through town. Like we opened up for Chance the Rapper, J. Cole, Big Crit, I mean, dude, every Machine Gun Kelly, Waka Flocka, like anyone that was playing in any of the college arenas
Hmm.
or any of like our maybe like Minneapolis or whatever, like we would be trying to be the supporting act to them. And it was awesome because I was like, as a at the time, I'm so obsessed with the music we were making and making music. And at the same time, I was also really obsessed with filmmaking. Like I was going to Barnes and Noble and buying like script writing 101 and all these different books, and just like I had no real clue about it, but I was like super curious
Hmm.
about filmmaking. And so like as an artist, we always needed content, especially when we started making the hip hop group. That was like the most pro version of making music that I'd ever been in. Um, and so like we knew, promoting shows, we needed content to promote shows. We knew that when we put out songs, we needed visuals to go along with it. So I was like ghost directing and making all the content, editing everything on top of making the music. And so I just became super obsessed back then. And I would like study other artists, what they were doing with their content. And like I would also learn like what it's like to be an artist through behind the scenes content
Hmm.
or any of that shit, you know? So I was super obsessed with it. And then eventually decided to make the move to LA because I just knew we needed to get out of Iowa. And it was really hard because, the guys were, everyone had real life shit going on. People had to like provide for their families and things after we got out of college. And I just was like super scrappy and didn't have a real job and lived as cheap as I could. And, you know, did things that were like low key humiliating. Like I was like, I moved home to be at my parents' house like after I had graduated from college and like lived in their basement. And I remember it's not humiliating. Now I'm like so thankful, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like back then it was like, oh, fuck, man, like people
that's
are
not the
judging me and
plan.
shit.
That's
Yeah, it
not the
wasn't the plan.
plan. Yeah,
Everyone's getting jobs and doing all these
yeah,
things and providing for themselves, and I'm like living it so cheaply and working to make like pay my visa bill. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I just, I don't know. So uh always was okay with that and like down to do that grind. And so I knew California had something, like Los Angeles had it. And I had been there when we tour, in like the most like shitty way possible. But like I've been to California and got a taste, and I was like, dude, we got to get to the city, and like who knows what could happen if we get out there. But eventually I just, yeah, like coming up to like 2013 ish, I think I started like thinking that that should be the possibility. And I started saving a bunch of money, doing like video work. I would do whatever I could to like stack a
yeah.
bunch of cash. And I moved out and lived in my homie's house on his floor on an air mattress. Shout out to Craig for almost a year and a half, and just tried to like kick open the door down there and see what I could do. That was the goal. Go there and try to like figure out if I could make it in video space, photography space, or music. You know what I mean? But I knew I wanted to be a part of music some way. So if I was doing
Yeah.
video shit, I needed to be with music. And luckily, like the first job that I ever got was working with Chris Brown on a documentary that my friend was making. He was directing this documentary about Chris Brown, his life story. Um, and that was like the first job I got to work on, which is like it's a lengthy story, but to summarize it, I was supposed to, no, I wasn't supposed to be a part of it. And then I
Hmm.
like got in the room, and then I just like kept being like an assistant. I was like, dude, I'll do whatever it takes to be here every day. Like I'll fill up your coffees and shit to my boy who was like in the editing process. And then we worked on that film for like 2 years, and I ended up being a co-editor on that project. Um, but that it was crazy because it worked. Like I was like, dude, I'm gonna go to LA and I want
Yeah.
to work in the music space. The first thing we did was do a story about a musician, one of the most controversial musicians of all time, and try to tell his story in documentary format. And I got a crash course on life, like on just how to be in the industry. And that by just being around, I started working on music videos, a bunch of Chris Brown's music videos, all these other different artists that the company was working with at the time. Started working with Mary J. Blige on a documentary with her. Like it literally went like this. Like it just went so
Yeah.
fast. It was crazy.
Once you got in, you're like this is the guy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think people think that that means that you just like got it or whatever. Like you were talking about that before. It's not like you just like got hooked up or
No,
whatever.
you
Like,
didn't just get hooked up right away. You were
no.
grinding for that good year and a half at least before you
Yeah.
got that. And how did you get connected with because I remember the biggest thing that I saw from social media from following you was the Schoolboy Q stuff. So how did
Mm.
that how did that end up? Like, was that through Chris
Yeah.
Brown or
No, I actually got that's through the dude Craig who let me crash at his house. It
okay?
was he had before I even moved to California, he had me come to South by Southwest Festival
Oh
in
yeah.
Texas. And so I went from Iowa down to Texas, and I'm
Okay.
just like with all these people I don't really know, and I had only met Craig briefly. And he's like, "Yo, bring your camera, come down here. I'll connect people with you through video and photo stuff, but also your music." And I was like, "Oh, sick." And I like went down there, and I was definitely like way too shy to pub my music at all. So I just was
Okay.
like the camera dude. I was just like shooting and everything. And there was like a showcase and there was an artist that was performing. And it was like a artist that one of the guy that ran Schoolboy Q's label and Kendrick Lamar's label at the time, he was like looking at signing this artist. So like, yo, he's working with them, like go shoot for who knows what's gonna happen. I was like, all right.
Hmm.
So I like shot this dope recap video and the manager ended up seeing it and like dude, it was like a movie, honestly. Like I remember saying, like everyone would like go party and shit, and I would just like edit. Like I filmed something,
Yeah.
and I'm just sitting there editing, editing, editing. And I
Yeah.
remember them literally walk. There's a video of it somewhere, but they like walk around me and like basically tell me this good news that Musa, shout out to my boy Musa, he had watched the video and he's like, "Yo, that guy's hard. Like he makes this video so quick, and like I don't know how he did this." He's like, "I want to take him on the TDE World Tour, which is their label." And that means that there's supposed to be a world tour with Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, J Rock, Absol, like the top
Yeah.
dogs, like,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, what the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. As a hip hop head, you're like, oh my God. Yeah.
I hit the lottery and I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
went back to Iowa and I was just like, I'm going on tour. And I just waited and like months and months and months and months were happening that no tour was happening. And like, and I
Oh
was like
boy.
putting things off and all these things and it just wasn't happening. No one was talking to me. So I didn't know. So I was like, yo, you know what? I need to get to California so I can be in his space. And so like I did, but when I moved out there, he had other things going on. And that's when I found my boy Andrew and he took me under his wing and I started working on Chris Brown stuff. So while I was working on Chris Brown stuff, the TDE label was like paying attention. Like that manager was watching what I was doing and he kept tabs. And then eventually out of nowhere, like Schoolboy Q's tour announced and he's like, yo, I like your shit. I told you I was going to get you on tour. You're going to go on this world tour with Schoolboy
Ah,
Q.
you tested your ass.
I don't know. I
Kinda.
honestly just think like the best thing I did was I stayed in touch and I was like if he could see me not be around because like where were you today? Oh, I was with Chris Brown doing blah blah blah. He's gonna be like, oh he's figuring it out on his own. He's staying it whatever. But honestly, they just had no tours to do. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
think if the tour was leaving right after South by Southwest, I would have been on it. It's
Okay.
just that it never happened. Like the world tour that never happened. So um but yeah, Q's tour ended up happening. That was 2016. So like I'd already started Chris Brown stuff and was working heavily into throughout 2015, and then went on tour in 2016 with him, and that was my first time leaving the country, which was
Where'd you go
wild,
first?
bro. We went to we did the U.S. first, then we ended up doing U.S., Canada, and then we hit up Europe, did all of Europe and the UK, and then we
Okay.
went to Australia
Hell yeah.
and then in New Zealand and then came home. It was dude, it was nuts. But it was like just me doing all the photo, all the video content. And it was like the perfect scenario because up till then I'm working with like production companies on all these different projects I was working on. But this was like a chance for me to be the creative, the director, the editor. It was my ideas
Yeah.
being put to the test and working with top tier talent. In like hard environments, like on the road, doing all these things. And I was like making a web series and all this stuff. And it was dope because at the time MTV even hit me up. Dude, I remember being in Germany and I got an email and then did a phone call with MTV who was like, "Bro, we're watching your web series that you're putting out with for Schoolboy Q. This is a genius concept. Like, we got to make this into a TV show." And then Complex hit me up and they're like, "We got to make this into a TV." I was like, "What the fuck is
Yeah.
happening?" You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. So it was like a really cool opportunity. I don't know how many people know Schoolboy Q's music, but like I loved him. Like making like listen, I find all his burn CDs. My dad finds them and shit. Like it's you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so it's cool getting that opportunity.
Yeah. And then since then, it just kind of like, so set, talk about being on the road and, being away from people and that part of that lifestyle has to be somewhat frustrating. Obviously, you're staying busy most of the time, so you're not really thinking about that. But like at a certain point, you're like, man, you probably like obviously missed your family, missed your friends. I don't know what your dating situation was at that time because because you're currently you're married or you have a fiance?
Engaged.
Engaged.
Yeah,
So,
engaged. Yep. So I was with Lauren before I even moved to LA. So
okay.
we had to go through the whole long distance thing and all that stuff. And then she moved out to California eventually. She actually moved out like 3 weeks before I got offered the Q tour. And so she literally moved out and then they hit me up for this tour. And I was like, and we both had a conversation, whatever. And then so then she would just basically stay back in Iowa while I was gone because she was like, I'm not gonna stay here. I don't know anyone here, and this is scary as hell. She's like from a small town in Iowa,
Yeah.
and so she moved back. And then after I got done with Q's tour, we moved back to California. Um, so it was like literally not ideal at all, and it was like that was pretty stressful and hard to deal with. But being on the road, honestly, it's like there was this time period like when I moved to LA, and the way I like just embedded myself into the scene and into anything that would like let me on site or on set to like to work. It was chaos. It was like 16-hour days back to back to back to back, like tunnel vision like a motherfucker. Like I'm just
Yeah.
there's nothing else in life happening right now except for what I'm doing. And which is goes to my credit of like why all this worked because I just was like so dead set on like making something out of whatever I could get.
Yeah.
And so it when I look back on it, it was definitely hard on like relationships. I didn't have money. I wasn't able to like hop home all the time or have her come out. If she did come out, I was living on an air mattress, so that shit sucks. So like my homie would like be kind enough to go sleep on the couch and let me use his room sometimes, and like you know what I mean, just like so we'd have a place to stay that was we're in a house with like 10, 15 people, or get a
Mhm.
hotel and like dude, it just wasn't like it wasn't ideal. So and then by the time we toured, you know, like I could finally afford my own spot, and then she's back at home, and so it was like that shit sucks. And like tour is the same way. It's like you're constantly going. It's nonstop. So and I don't think I was like I wasn't old enough to realize that like that I just didn't have time to think about anything else. That's the truth. Like
Yeah.
I literally didn't have time to think about it. But the job itself was stressful, and I think that that's what's crazy. Like you know, no one will ever really understand like the I don't even think I'll understand like how I pull these things off. And so it's like by doing that first tour, like I remember I'm like the pressure, bro, the pressure because they basically just like took a chance with some dude that they don't know
Yeah.
and got me out there. And so Schoolboy Q doesn't know who I am besides like the cosign, and none of the dudes on the tour knew who I was. So I just got like, thrown into it. And I think they had done 2 shows already in the US before I hopped on. And so I just show up one day and I'm like filming people and shit. And they're like, what the hell? Who are you? And like, so I had to like I had to like film, I had to like learn who everyone was, figure out what the shows are like, how to shoot the shows, of what's going on behind the scenes, and then figure out how to make that into content. Because that was like what they kept pushing me for. They're like, "Yo, we just need you to make something sick." Like, and so like after like 3 shows, I remember them being like, "Where is like something? Like, when can we see something?" I'm like, "Bro, I don't know who everyone. I'm still trying to figure out
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I'm making. Like, I'm just filming shit. I don't know what I'm making yet." And like my laptop was shitty. I was definitely needing a different type of lens, so I had to like go and I was like fronting all this because I wasn't even getting paid that much. So I would like go buy a new laptop because I needed to be able to do the videos. And then I got another lens because I like Q would like I needed a better lens for like when he came and talked to the camera like this and back up. I like needed to zoom and shit. So I had to like buy gear. So
Yeah.
I'm like doing all this stuff and just stressed out, like running a credit card. Just I'm like, this is gonna pay off. Like I know it's gonna pay off.
Yeah.
And so I remember like the pressure was like I remember staying in a hotel one day and they're like, you're missing stuff. Like stuff's happening right now. Like someone was texting me like, you should be out there. And I was like, dude, I need to edit. You guys keep asking me for the video, so I got to edit. You guys
I'm
got to
one
give me some.
guy.
Yeah, I can't shoot everything. Like, what the hell? So, they're like, all right, cool. And like I felt like they were like pissed that I wasn't 24/7 filming, but also they want videos being edited. So like
Yeah.
no, there wasn't anyone understanding how that worked. But like I remember just I hammered so hard on my computer and I made episode 1 from this like web series, you know?
Hmm.
And I remember I like walked in my laptop and I showed Q and I was like waiting for him to have like a bunch of critiques or notes or whatever. And he was just like laughing at it. And he's like, all right, that's sick. Let's put it up. And then they put it up and all of a sudden it gets a couple 100,000 views and everyone's commenting like, this is fucking amazing. Like going crazy. Like my show footage looked insane. But then at, at, at the same exact time, all of the behind the scenes experience felt like a new wave. And I credit that because I studied Wiz Khalifa's day to days. I studied fucking Big Sean doing
Yeah.
his all of his recaps, like all these artists I was watching in Iowa, like paying attention to, Macklemore, all the recaps. I
Yeah.
just was like applying all the things I learned and then adding my twist of like, all right, these dudes are funny. Let's dive into the comedy. Let's
Yeah.
make this
Q's
into like a
funny.
he is, and so are all his friends, bro. It's like the
Yeah.
perfect cast of fucking people because they're just so good at giving and setting things up and pranking and doing all these things. So I could like really make a compelling
Yeah.
thread throughout the series. So um once I played episode one, they realized who they were fucking with. Like it went from like uh people didn't want to even like take the time to learn my name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's up, cameraman? I remember telling my boy Smack, I was like, bro, my name is Ben, not cameraman. All right. If you want something, I'm not gonna answer you anymore. If you say cameraman, I'm not gonna turn my head. He's like,
Yeah.
come on, man, just film this thing, whatever, like that. And then after he saw the first episode, I made him look cool. He's like, all right, Ben, you got what it takes, blah, blah, blah. And still to this day, he'll always ride and die, like, no one can do it better, blah. Like he just says funny shit. But I
Yeah.
had to like win everyone over to trust me because
Yeah.
no one knew who I was. And then that product, that did so much for me, man. Like making that web series for him, like opened up so many doors, allowed people to see like my creativity, even though it's like now that I watch it, it's like the video quality is not that great. Like maybe my editing could have been better, but like the
Well,
stories were
yeah.
so,
You look at it now,
so
you're
good.
like this is actually
Yeah.
trash. No.
Yeah, yeah. I could not focus. Like, you know what I mean? But it didn't
Yeah.
matter. It's the story
No.
that drove it. So that was a huge moment in my career, bro. Like Chris Brown was working on his project was massive for me too, but people don't realize in the
That was still
timeline.
behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, like I moved there and we did all of Chris's thing. We even worked on all these music videos. So I was like a part of that whole thing. And then I go on tour and the film's still in incognito mode. Nothing, it hasn't come out, yada yada. I get off tour and then we finally finish it and put it out. And actually, Mary J. Blige, we did her film. We shot that after Chris Brown shit, but we finished it before Chris Brown shit. So that ended up coming out. Then Chris Brown's shit came out, and I had already done a whole world tour, which is crazy. So like I was working on dope shit, but nothing was out. So no one
Yeah.
really knew what I was or what I was capable of doing until I did Q shit, which was really special. So yeah, it's just cool. It's a cool time to reflect on.
So did you have anyone that was kind of mentoring you that you can give credit to as far as like obviously learning how to edit things like that, or would you just say like you would do a lot of YouTubing and like just learn like on the go learning like self-taught type
Yeah.
of stuff, or did you have somebody that was like, hey, I don't know how to do this, can you show me how, or is it kind of a mixture?
No, like my guy Andrew Sandler, that's my dog. He
Yeah.
brought me under his wing fully. He directed Chris Brown's documentary, directed a bunch of his music videos. Therefore, he would like be the one that was like, "Yo, come be here, be here, be here." So Andrew opened up all the doors for me, and then just by being in the room with him, I was able to have what I don't know how I developed the skill set to be able to like soak it up. Like I just was a sponge. So I was like, "Oh, so that's how you would respond when someone asks you this question." Oh, that's what creating a budget is. Oh, this is whatever. Like, so he would just educate me on everything. And at the same time, YouTube University
Oh
all
yeah.
day long. But at the time, it wasn't as good as it is now. And it wasn't as filled with a bunch of little like geniuses or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was there, but it wasn't fully like I wasn't definitely from the industry standpoint, it was very hard to like learn shit. Now I feel like almost everyone's creating content around everything, so you can find it. But
Mhm.
Andrew opened up hella doors, and then just being around, man. Like if I'm on set, I'm like building friendships with like the director of photography. I'm talking to the lighting people. I'm talking to electric people. I'm talking to the hair and makeup people. Like I'm talking to Crafty. I'm talking to everyone. I'm like building relationships with people. I'm just trying to learn like what they do and how they do it. And then by being around, I'm like, oh, cool. And it helped me understand what I would need when I started directing someday. Like I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm understanding how these tools help you build your final product. And so just I mean, a lot of people are like in school and film school and like they really want to be a part of this world and stuff. And it's like my
Mhm.
biggest piece of advice is like, yo, go be a part of it any way you can. Like be the bottom of the totem pole, ride that wave as long as you can, pay attention to what's happening around you. Don't be a weirdo. That's the best school I ever got was just being around it, you know? So Andrew is yeah, my guy. And then there's so many other people to credit around that time. Like even Craig, shout out to Craig for giving me a place to be out there and then connecting me with people and just hearing the way that they would like strategize and how the industry would work and how backdoor deals were made. Like there's so many people that I could credit for it, but every project gave you new mentors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as the work ethic goes, 'cause that I feel like a lot of this I'm hearing is just work ethic and staying focused and grinding. And where do you think that comes from? Because yet that's not necessarily. Would you say that comes from your upbringing or somebody you met or learned in school? Or I noticed there's just a lot of like, when it comes, not everybody in Iowa has a good work ethic, but I know it's an Iowa thing, like to have like, work hard, if you work hard, you'll see the results eventually. Like, I was always
Yeah.
taught that. Like, I don't know if that's because of just I have good parents or if it's like, where do you really credit that work ethic from? Where does that drive come from? Or where did you grow up with somebody that was like that had that mentality?
Yeah. It's that my parents were the same way, man. It was like they showed up to work every single day. They put food on the table, like they did it
Yeah.
by any means. They helped and supported their family in whatever ways they needed to. They got us to all the sporting events. Like, you're a product of your environment. And so, um, it's also, yeah, it's that 319, whatever it is,
Yeah.
319. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I love like the town I grew up in and the way, you know, my youth, man. Like especially I acknowledge it so much more now that I've been back home lately.
Hmm.
Um, like just driving around old places that I used to be at when I was in high school and shit, and like just how I had such a cool, wide variety friend group. Like I was friends with everybody in school and connected with any type of person I could be cool with you and like just the experiences I got and was always like chasing extra activities outside of like the normal shit. Like I wasn't like I was straight edge. I was like a straight edge punk kid that didn't drink or do drugs and like I prided myself on that and I had a whole community of people that did the same thing and but at the same time I was really cool with all my friends that drank and did drugs. You know what I mean? So like I could
Yeah.
go pull up on a party on a Friday night and then on Saturday we're at the casino with the boys drinking Coca-Colas trying or whatever the fuck. I don't
Yeah.
know what it was, but I just I think that by always being proactive and having like really good conversations and just like always trying to show up for each other and stuff like that's that Iowa mentality.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that's similar for other people in different states and cities and countries, but there's something different about it and
Hmm.
about Iowa. And I think like I've noticed that a lot in California because I would go around and I see people from different cities that were in the city or from California, and I'm like, interesting. I'm like, why are you sleeping on this opportunity right now? All you got to do is just stay up for 5 more hours and you could, XYZ, you could go get it. But like
Yeah.
you see people take things for granted. And I think that, um, yeah, just, I don't know. I credit it to my family and friends and the space that I grew up in. And, um, but I don't really know where the Superman shit comes from because sometimes I do some shit and I'm like, bro, this is like Superman-like activity. Like
Yeah.
I don't know anybody in my phone book that would do this, what I'm doing right now and see it all the way through because this is like an absurd amount of work or it's going to take some insanity. Like I had a job during COVID that I directed from my office. I only had four editors and we had to basically turn around this thing for the NFL and EA for Madden and it was like in a 4.5 day window, and I didn't sleep for 4.5 days straight. 4.5 days sat at my desk and like coordinated and executed. Sometimes I lay on the floor, but I literally never went to bed, like because that was the only way I was getting done. It was just like an unfortunate COVID experience to like see the job through, but I had to do whatever it took to see it through because it was like my name on the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, when I'm done with it, I'm like, who's doing shit like this? Like, what is it? Where does this come from? Like, how do I have this capability to do this shit and still
How did
perform
you
at a high
stay up and
level.
not crash? Just like
And I don't do drugs. And that's
I
straight
know you
up like
don't.
the most honest truth. I
Yeah.
don't. And so it's like, or Adderall. I don't, and not
Yeah.
nothing. Like it's
The
just
only
coffee,
people I
baby
know
black.
that stay up for that long are on drugs, bro.
I know they are. I know. I hang out with them. So it's like I know
Yeah.
what it takes, but there's just I think my drug is creativity and my drug is like the task of like getting to the finish line. There's something that I
Yeah.
love so much about that high and I'll chase it in any type of project. So I think that's honestly it. Like I you could be feeling the crash for a second and then you just have to like there's something where you bounce back and you can figure out how to get through that moment and then you get another win for another couple hours or whatever. But yeah, um, I don't know. I think it's Iowa, man.
Work ethic just goes a long way, man, and being accountable and showing up when you say you're going to show up. So many
Hmm.
people don't have that. And that I feel like can come before skill. Like if you have the determination, the drive, the work ethic, and it's kind of the fake it till you make it. I don't really like that phrase that much,
I
but
love that phrase.
you
I
do?
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works though. I've had to do it recently. I've been doing some more creator stuff because I've been doing some social media stuff on the side and trying to help people create content specifically for social media for small businesses. And I had somebody that was like, I want you to come here once a month or twice a month, and we're just gonna knock out a bunch of content, and I want you to direct it. And I was like, I've never been a director before.
Yeah.
All I have to do is
You just
put a
gotta own
phone.
it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really what it is. Like it's like yeah, there's I mean I like the phrase because I like the phrase with the right intentions. Like there's people that
Yeah,
fake it till they make it and they have literally no clue what they're doing. You have to
yeah,
have some sort of like confidence that you're capable of entering that arena that you're faking it to be
yeah,
into. You know what I mean? Like you have some confidence on like, all right, I don't know exactly how to do it, but I have kind of the wherewithal and I've done some of the study and I've
yeah,
done, this and that. But like I've always, dude, I don't know how many times people would always say, yo, can you do it? Blah, blah. And I'd be like, yep. And then like I turn around and like go straight to the bathroom to like go for a bathroom break and I'm on Google and shit trying to like figure it out. Cause I'm like, what
yeah,
the fuck does that word mean? But like I was so destined and believed in myself that I could take on anything. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So I didn't want to, I would do it only if I knew I wouldn't sacrifice someone's goals. You know what I mean? Like if I could do it confidently and I know I'm not going to set someone else up for failure, that's when I would do it. But that doesn't mean that I know how to do it correctly. But I feel like I'm capable of doing it correctly. And
exactly.
that challenge,
Capable.
I'm worth taking the risk. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of
Yeah.
how I felt. I was just like, you know what? If I can just get through this each time, I'm just gonna get better and better at it. You know, the more
Hmm.
I do it, repetition and
Yeah.
reps, and just showing up and doing it. And yeah, when people ask me about comedy and stuff, they're like, "How do you do that?" And like, you look so comfortable on stage. I'm like, I wasn't always comfortable on stage, and there's still some times where I'm not.
Yeah.
But people don't notice unless they are me. They like
Hmm.
inside. I'm just like, oh shit, but they can't tell because I know how to like fake it
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been an interesting journey. That's another yeah creative outlet for me. And I was gonna ask you, I've been meaning to ask you one question because I'm also a huge hip hop head, so this is
Hmm.
and I think some of my listeners appreciate it as well. 'Cause Schoolboy Q was a good friend of Mac Miller. Did you ever get to meet Mac Miller?
Yeah, I did. Like actually shortly or I worked on a job with him. I actually did a drone work for a music video of him and Miguel.
Okay,
And then
the
and so
weekend or was it Goodbye the
yeah, or yeah,
Weekend?
the
That song?
weekend.
Yeah,
And then on the
oh,
weekend.
Goodbye the Weekend.
All
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah,
My boy Daniel directed that. And so I got to do drone shit on that. And then and so I was around him a bit for that, but then I met him. I met him after that. Trying to remember if that was before or if that was after. Maybe that was when I had already met him. I don't remember, man. But oh no, it was after. So then I met him on at Coachella with Q. I was with Q performed and so did Kendrick. They headlined. Kendrick headlined. Q opened up right before him at Coachella, and so I got to go there with them. And we were in Q's trailer, and Mac Miller and Ariana Grande. They like showed up on our trailer. And so when he walked in, we were like, "What's up, blah, blah, blah?" And his video guy is a good friend, and so like we all whatever we could shoot the shit. But I fucking huge fan of Mac Miller, bro. Like
oh yeah,
it's they just saw Complex posted something today. It was like, who should we have on Tiny Desk next? And like it's they're using Mac Miller because his Tiny Desk is like the most goated of all time. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, dude. The only
Yeah.
closest one that I have seen is that Scarface one that just came out, man.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh man, that one's dope. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like the
Yeah.
closest I've seen. Otherwise, that one with Mac, man, I start tearing up every time I watch it, man.
It's tough. It's tough. It's
It's
just
tough.
like he was such a huge I wrote something when he did pass because I was like, man, it's just like insane how much inspiration he gave me for what I do. You know what I mean? Through hit as an artist and knowing from what he wanted from a visual standpoint and just being so good at compiling the music, but then bringing a visual stimulation to it and understand how to use the internet and building up this really cool community of kids that were just like obsessed with like having a good time and him, you know what I mean? Like he
Mhm.
really dominated it in that era. And I studied everything that he did, every video that he put out, all the people that were behind the scenes with it. I had a really good conversation with him. If anyone wants to listen to it, Justin Boyd is his photographer. And so we talked deeply about it after he passed, just about that's like, especially I feel for everyone that's part on his team too. Like everyone is doesn't have a job anymore after he passes. And like for Justin, that was like his artist, like that's his
Mhm.
guy. So it's like it's heartbreaking when you see how that shit falls apart and then everyone's just all up in his business and shit. But what a great dude, man.
Yeah,
Just
I've heard
sidebar,
nothing
but
but yeah, it was a selfish sidebar for me. I'm
it
sorry.
was good. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Shout out to Mac Miller. He's
yeah,
the best. It literally his videos, bro. I remember like us just watching him and I'm studying the shit out of him. Like, God damn, if we could do this exact same thing. We just gotta go put everyone together, get the whole crew together. I'm pulling everyone from college, our friends, whoever. Let's be in the video. Let's make it like
a
this. We gotta
big
do it
group
like
of
Mac Miller.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just like get some squad shit. Like he was just so good at making things feel fun and like bringing his friends into the fold and all that shit. It was so cool. He
yeah,
was dope. Yeah.
great dude. But yeah,
Hmm.
when it comes to like drugs and addiction and things like that in LA, is it just like is it as dominant as everybody talks about, or is it like just kind of like just like everywhere else, like drugs are everywhere, or
Yeah, I
is
think
it?
it's like everywhere else. It's
Yeah.
like I remember seeing like I definitely saw way more coke in LA than I had ever seen before just by being around play. Like I remember the first time I even like visited and got to hang out with some friends and like we went out and everyone was just like literally doing it at this like a little bottle service table and in the open. And I'm like, what the hell? And then like I was just like, this is crazy. But now that I'm there, I'm like, even here, it's like, there's people that just are doing this shit casual and find ways to have access to it. It's just shit's getting scary now with like you know what I mean?
With the
People are
fentanyl
lacing
and
shit with
shit.
stuff. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
fentanyl. It's
yeah.
like what a risk, but it is so common. And honestly, it's a tool for so many people in the creative industry because those insane hours I'm talking about are for like this finite group of people that allow themselves to take on these challenges. And so I understand that, abusing certain drugs and it's going to help you see things through, which is unfortunate that that's those tools. I mean, it's Rockstar Days, like all these people went through all this shit and
Hmm.
just like utilize these as tools, but it's fucking ain't for me. I just have never been interested. But I credit that to like the music scene that I was in and shit. Like I
Yeah.
just have no interest at all. And also I was like super allergic to smoke back in the day.
Oh
Like
really?
cigarette smoke was like fuck my shit up. Um so whenever I was around people smoking weed and shit, I had like literally like that's like the last thing I could ever think I'd want to do. So I've never smoked or any of that shit. It doesn't bother me at all now, but I remember going on Q's tour, I was like, oh man, like how am I supposed to breathe on the tour bus? It's gonna be packed out. And it was hella smoky all the time, but the ventilation was pretty good. So I did fine. I feel like I built up a tolerance to be around weed
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that tour.
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Most.
but honestly, it's like you find it if that's what you want, is there.
Oh yeah.
Um, but most like in the jobs I do and everything, it's pretty. Everyone's pretty on their shit. Like everyone's there to like succeed, and um, a lot of stuff doesn't really make it onto the set and shit.
Yeah, for what you're doing, yeah, yeah. I feel like yeah, maybe some of the artists might get into that kind of stuff, but as far as like the creatives that are, you know, filming and production and
Yeah,
all that good stuff, they got to be on it.
yeah, yeah. There's definitely been some weird cases. People definitely have shown up, or people are definitely doing some shit on set. You find out, and it could throw them off. It makes them not good sometimes. So it's like you definitely don't want to be that person. But yeah, artists like, especially like creative modes and trying to like curate stuff. I'm sure people are doing it, but I don't know. It's not my world, so I don't. I guess I can't speak on it too far.
Yeah, once you're out of the world, you don't really see it as much. Like, cause I used to be around that all the time, seeking that kind of lifestyle.
Hmm.
And once I got out of that lifestyle, I don't really I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen anything besides weed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just
Right.
not around it. I'm not around people
Right.
who do it. Like it just
Yeah.
not a part of my lifestyle. But
Hmm.
as far as for when I was talking about, yeah, we were talking about how you don't smoke. Do you not drink either? Or
No, I drink.
rarely?
Yeah, no, I don't drink a lot, but I mean, if I drink, I'm gonna turn up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I get it.
that's the only thing. That's the only. It's just probably like worse poison for me than if I were to just smoke weed or something. But um, I didn't drink till I was like 21 or whatever. Just that's when I decided to. But back in the day, we'd fucking go nuts. But every once in a while, like I'll drink a lot, but typically, like, I'm not the dude that needs to have a drink before I go to sleep or like when I'm chilling. Like, it's every once in a while I'll pour something up, but like, just chug water.
Yeah, it's more of like a yeah, very recreationally and socially, it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. But it's
It,
fun when we get into shit like on tour, like we'd have like we're like especially the last two tours. It's like I'm on the biggest tour in the world and like all my friends are famous and shit. And so like if we want to go if touring's cool because especially when you're like with a big artist, it's like everyone's always doing something, right? Like especially when the crew's like hundreds of people, like you can kind of do whatever you want. If you want to play like game night in a hotel, like people are playing cards. If you want to go to a nightclub, someone's got bottle service. If you want to go to like mini golf or some shit, it's there. If you want to go to the beach, it's there. Like
mm,
everyone just seen you have so many options. So it'd be really fun. Like we'd always try to just like find the coolest activities or whatever, and like we're just with fun people and could go to like really cool nightclubs and shit. So we definitely had some fun nights. But other than that, I'm on my health shit. The last like 5 months, I got off this last tour and just I hired like a nutritionist and a fitness coach and shout to my guy Aaron. But I just was like I got off tour. I guess I'm skipping some stuff. So I got to work with Beyonce for like several years, which was dope, and then won like a Grammy and shit, and that was really cool. And then
just gonna throw that in there real
we
quick.
yeah, just got it. It's back. If you're watching the videos, where is this at? It's right here. That's my Grammy.
Hell yeah.
But we like we I guess oh yeah, like I just got off the Renaissance tour in the summer. I took some time off and from the tour and I came home and I just was like after touring and rehearsing, like we were gone for like 3 months overseas, and like I was just like, I was doing good. I've been carrying around a heavy camera, shooting these shows, burning hella
Yeah.
calories at the shows, like whatever. I felt good, but then after like a month or 3 weeks of being home, I'm like eating garbage food and fucking cheese curds or whatever the hell we get around
Yeah.
here, and all of a
A
sudden I'm
lot of
like
cheese
looking at
curds.
myself in the mirror and I'm like, bro, like I gotta do something about this shit. Like I need to get on it, and I knew like I really struggle with prioritizing my health, and I
Mm,
have for all my creative career just because that's the only goal. Like I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna eat McDonald's. I'm gonna eat whatever the hell's around because
yeah.
I'm not thinking about food. I just want to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
And but yeah,
I
so I
get that,
finally
man.
like invested in my health journey. And that was like 5 months ago, which hasn't been easy because then I did it for like a solid like month. I lost 20 pounds in like the first like 5 weeks, which was sick. And started gaining muscle and shit. And I was like really into it. I learned a lot about, I've been learning a lot about food and the types of food I'm eating and all this shit. And which makes me not want to drink even more because I'm just like, that's just like
Poison. Yeah.
derailing me from my goals.
Yeah.
But unless there's a good margarita around, I'm like, gotta hit that shit.
Fair.
But anyway, I was doing that, and then all of a sudden, like, tour picked back up, and we're working on this movie that came out, and then like, there's all this chaos of like, it throws you off the grind of it, but it's cool because like, it's like right when we get done with the Zoom, I'm gonna go through and I gotta do my weekly check-in with him, and I'm gonna like recap how my this week went, and I haven't had like a solid week in several weeks because it was like I got done with tour. And then I was in LA working on parts of the movie, and then I came back here, and then I had to go back to LA, and I worked on another project with Canon. And I came back to Iowa, and then I went right back to LA, and I did this Travis Barker commercial, and then I flew to Brazil, and I flew home from Brazil, and I went straight to Christmas, and then Christmas and New Year's, and you know what I mean. So it was just like then I'm home and I'm just eating fucking hella Christmas food and all this
Oh
shit.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
throws you off, but I was just like, ah, man. But the feeling I've got right now is different than I've ever had before because I've like learned so much and I'm like so acknowledging what's good and what's bad, and like that's been really cool because I just feel fucking better, bro. Like I feel better creating now that I've like thoroughly invested in myself and like I'm treating my body right and I'm going in the gym, doing the shit I hate doing, it feels really good to like have gone several months, like to do it for months, because I've never had
Mhm.
that track record before. It's always like I get in the gym for like 2 weeks and then I bail and never go
Yeah,
back. But um, I don't know why I'm talking about that, but that
that's
did bother
important.
me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's important. And yeah, the lifestyle. Yeah, there's no way you can, not no way, but it's way more difficult if you're like go 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 to eat healthy and to work have a good routine of working out. Like
Yeah.
that's very, it makes it
Yeah.
very difficult.
It
And
definitely is. But I think that's one thing I've been trying to learn how to deal with because it's like the easiest thing you can do is be in your own habitat and have like a structure, right? And my life is unstructurable. It's like we've been trying to do this podcast for how long, and then to do it in person because we're not that far from each other. But I'm literally like that was like 2 weeks ago. That was my schedule, the Brazil shit, like
yeah,
literally, and I knew about that 4 days before I had to go there. So it's like I can't ever
things
truly
change.
properly plan anything, and so it's really hard. So now it's like, all right, let me learn about how to find a system that could work for me when I'm in those chaos moments. Like maybe it's about I'm gonna be in. I have to fly to LA and I'm gonna be in the hotel for 4 days. Let me order some like meal preps from someone, or let me hit Chipotle and just get like the base that I need to like hit my goals and all the shit or whatever. And maybe I won't get to the gym, but at least I'm like thoughtfully thinking. Or when I go out to eat, I don't gotta get a fucking burger with a bunch of shit on it or whatever. Like I can go find like the more lean option that still tastes really good. And but this all shit I just never thought about, and I feel like really pumped on the fact that I've taken the time and invested into that this chapter of my life because it's honestly helping me. The reason I moved home was my dad's got cancer, brain cancer, and so I wanted to be closer to my dad during his cancer journey, and so we moved back. And so it's actually cool too because it's teaching me a lot about health and nutrition that I had no clue about, which then I'm picking up on habits that he has because of course we all just, we eat what we eat and whatever. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
what if you do that? Like I'm probably annoying now, but it's making me aware. And now, like it's just like you can go so far into understanding how the benefits of shit like this, um, which is it's just good timing for this to be like an obsession of mine.
Oh yeah, definitely. And when did you move back, like officially move back? It's been a little bit.
The 1 year, so
One year.
this will be my second winter.
Okay.
Um, we moved here like right before the winter, lived at my parents' house for like a month trying to figure out like what we were gonna do,
Yeah.
and then I bought a house here. Um so it's cool. But I'm like barely here. So I'm like here and then I leave and then I'm back and I'm like and but it's been honestly really cool. Like I couldn't I credit that the fact that I'm like blessed every time I think about it that I can do this, like that my name or my value is so at a level that I'm still getting booked regardless of where I am. People fly me to go to work. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's like I wouldn't have been able to do this if it was like 4 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago. It would have been hard, but I've like climbed this ladder and built this understanding of how to run and produce content and how I can manage and do projects that I like and build clients that I like. And so because I've done that, I'm capable of like running it from I could be on the fucking moon. You know what I mean? Like at this point, it's like and that's I'm lucky for that shit because now it's like when I'm home, that was my biggest struggle. Like once my dad got diagnosed with cancer, I was
Hmm.
like in Iowa for a month with him doing rehabilitation, all this stuff after surgery, and then I went back to LA and I just would like go to a job and then I get done with the job and I just be like sitting at the house and I'm just like, man, this fucking sucks. It'd be sick if I could just be at their house. You know what I mean? I just want to
Yeah.
be around and so I'm glad, like, me and Lauren had to talk about it and figure it out. And it's definitely like not easy to just like literally change your life. She had been in LA for like 7 years at that point, or 8 years
Yeah. And she
almost.
built a business
So
of her own
yeah,
too,
she had
right?
a whole thing going. Yeah. So now she's reestablishing her shit here. And so it's like a whole thing. But I'm like grateful to be able to do that and that she was willing to do that and to be able to be around because I've gotten to experience so much cool shit just from being here and like I helped my dad like lower his internet bill today because they've fucking taxing his ass at MediaCom. So I was like went over to his house and then called
Yeah.
him and fixed it for him. And then you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and that shit just it's cool that I can just go do random things now with him. And we're juicing now. We're drinking ginger juice. So make a
Nice.
batch, bring it over. Anyways, yeah. So it's
That's
good. I
awesome.
like it. It's cool.
Yeah, being closer to family is awesome, and being able to be there for your parents as they get older and like you need help with stuff, and um yeah, it's really rewarding. Like, because obviously, like as kids who grew up with good parents, there's we cannot give back what we have gotten. Like
Uh-uh.
it's impossible. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but being able to be there and be available to do that is awesome. Like I
Right.
or like helping my grandma. I helped my grandma set up her printer like after Christmas. She got a printer for
Hmm.
Christmas, and I set up that shit. And it was like I was like, I haven't set up a printer in forever, and
Yeah.
I got this new crazy like where you have to fill the inks and that with the Epson ones, and I was like, what? It took forever,
Yeah.
but just like being able to do that for her, and like, yeah, I'm like between me and my cousin, we're the tech guys, like that
Oh yeah.
get the call whenever something
Yeah.
goes wrong. Yeah, you either call Sam or you call Colin. Like
Hmm.
that's how it is.
Yep.
And I like being able to do that. It's fun. And I've implemented that into my actual 9 to 5 job too, because I run into tech issues 'cause I'm in customer service and run into people like, I don't know how to get on this website or I don't know how to navigate it. And I'm just like, and it's I'm like older lady and I'm just like, look. And then I can just walk them through and like, you made that
Yeah.
so easy. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's rewarding.
Yep. No, I agree. It's cool. I've definitely been an IT guy at my parents' house
Oh
for
yeah.
like every single time I come over. It's like, bro, I just want to chill with you guys. I don't want to have to figure out how to make Christmas lights turn fucking red and green and shit. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Or like sometimes I go over and my dad's like, can you help me move this? And like
Uh, yeah.
he's
But I'm
older and
down for it. Like,
he's got a bad back.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah. Like
yeah.
take out
I
the
know.
trash or whatever.
Yep. Yep. It's the small things, but it's cool to that it's working. You know what I mean? Like it's cool. Because I think there's like a fear factor too that people try to instill in you, especially out in California. Like I knew I had to be there to get what I wanted out of it,
Yeah.
and I never knew, like I never saw myself being back in Iowa. Like I maybe, but like that wasn't honestly. I was planning on moving to Vegas before my dad got sick. I was like, I just wanted to change. I wanted to buy property. I was like, Vegas is cool. If you're outside the strip, there's like some dope shit out
And
there.
you can afford it. Yeah.
Oh, you can get, I mean, for the price of a house out in LA, you'd get like a mansion. So I was like, all right, sick. We'll just do that. But then, this was the second best option. I just think that there's like this stigma that if you're not around, you become irrelevant or whatever. And honestly, I could probably credit COVID to changing that narrative because it's like
Yeah.
there's so much became about remote work and no one really says like it's rarely like where are you from? Like that shit never really happens anymore. Like I could show up tomorrow in LA and some people still think I live there. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So I could be from New York. Like, no one knows where the fuck you're actually from or what's going on. Cause like, hey, the job's on Wednesday and I just show up on Wednesday. It's like, cool. But, there was that like fear factor that, oh, maybe this won't work.
Yeah. If I move
Um,
back, am I gonna lose all this work?
yeah, but it's like, as soon as I moved back, I had to help edit a whole live concert film thing for Machine Gun Kelly. And then they went to Dubai with Beyonce and for like 3 weeks, and then after that, tour started again. So it's like, nah, it's still nothing's changed. Like people, like I've built such a cool dynamic with my clients and the everyone that is seeking something that is similar to like what I make. They find me, you know what I mean? They hit me up. So, um, it's been cool. I've never even had to really like ask people for jobs. It's really just like the word of mouth shit happens. And it's so funny how things literally would just be like you get done with one and then someone hits you about the next one and then you get done with that one. And like it's just been nonstop since I got into it. So luckily that's the case and that I can be here for the time being and who knows how long I'm here for. But I really fucking love it. I love like dude, the sunsets and shit in Iowa
Oh yeah.
are fire, like the weather, like no traffic, you know what I mean? It's just easy. Some people suck, but it is what it is. People suck everywhere. Who gives a shit?
True.
I miss restaurants. I wish we had if I could get
Yeah. Certain
a little bit more
cuisines,
options. Yeah, I miss like we're in the melting pot, bro. Like LA has just got all the best foods.
everything. The Mexican
Yeah,
food,
it's so good.
dude.
What's the
Yeah.
problem? The Mexican food here is pretty good though. The spots that we go to in Cedar Falls, Waterloo is like there's some
Okay.
good spots here.
That's good.
But yeah, there's Seltz and Beer. Shout out to it if you've ever been. And Sherman Way in North Hollywood is that fucking best.
Yeah.
spot in California. The best.
Yeah. There's a lot of good spots out there
Yeah,
too.
dude.
So I was gonna ask you about about moving back. You moved back
Yeah, sorry.
and you've worked with a lot of different people. As far as and you've worked with a lot of people that you were fans of. Has there been an experience where you've like had to like step back and be like, I'm fangirling out right now. I need to fucking chill before you met somebody? Anything like that?
Uh,
Where you're like, oh
not.
man, or like intimidated by meeting them because you're just so like, because you're just such a huge fan.
I'm trying to remember. There was someone that the only times I've fanned out. So I've only fanned out once truly in real
Okay.
life, and that was when I was still in. Maybe I was like a freshman in college, and me and my mom went and saw the Yankees play, and like the Yankees were my favorite shit. And we happened to end up outside the hotel before they walked into their hotel. So Derek Jeter and A-Rod and everyone
Oh hell
were
yeah.
like walking by me, and I was just like, oh shit! Like, but I didn't
Yeah.
say anything. I just couldn't say anything. Like they
Yeah.
were right
Yeah.
there, and I was like,
Yeah.
hey, you know what I mean? But
Hey,
that
I'm
was like the
Ben.
only time I ever
Yeah.
experienced. Yeah, I was just like, holy shit! Like Derek Jeter's like, I don't know, but it was like that was hilarious. But other than that. It's always been like, oh shit, that's cool. Like that's super cool. Like for me
Yeah.
to in my head acknowledge like that's Snoop Dogg. Like I remember like one of the first jobs I was on Snoop and Christina Milian where it was like a music video or some shit, and I was just doing playback, and then I'd just be like, Snoop, yo, let's grab a photo. Like even me asking him for a photo, it was like so normal. Like the way I did it wasn't even like because I don't do that shit anymore. But like when I was on set, like my friend Andrew's like, yo, do you want to get a photo with him? He was directing the video, so he's kind of like I can do whatever I want. And this is like this my new guy. I took like pictures with them and shit. And like I just remember seeing Snoop and be like, bro, this is fucking crazy. But then since I've directed Snoop, you know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
like it's so cool that it's turned out that these are people that I now direct for. But like I don't think I've ever really fan. We did trip, me and Laura, like we were funny because like we'll just be like we were at a party, we were at Jimmy Kimmel's party, this like NFT fucking art gallery party thing at his house. And so whatever, we're there. That's cool. I've seen,
Yeah. Obviously that's dope.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Kimmel's around and shit. A-Rod was there, which was dope. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's kind of funny, but like I was like more funny. Like I remember like I was like, I'm gonna walk, I like walk past like to get around this party, and I like rubbed up again. I was like, yo, I just rubbed my chest on A-Rod's back or something like creepy shit like to my girl. And we're just like being drunk and stupid. But then Sean Evans walked in and we both tripped because we fucking love watching Hot Ones. And we're like,
Yeah.
yo, but I've been around like some of the illest celebrities of all time and like never tripped. But we're both like, yo, that's Sean Evans. And then like we were just in Miami at this other event, and Sam Richardson, he's on uh holy shit, if I blank on this show right now. I think you should leave. Have you ever seen that on
Yeah.
Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, this dude's on that shit and he came through with one of my
The
friends
main
and it was
dude?
just like no, his like best friend, his like sidekick dude. He's in
Okay.
all the other shit.
Okay.
And so he walked in and me and her both were like, yo, what the fuck? Like we love that shit. And
Yeah.
so there's only been a few times where I've ever like, but all we do is just like it's just like special for us because we like watch the show or we enjoy it so much. But nah, I've never like ever tripped. That's like the key to it all, bro. Is like just
Well,
treat.
yeah,
They're all regular ass people.
that is, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as soon as you're around people and you make them feel comfortable and you don't want anything from them, you're not trying to like whatever. Like even the dude Sam, if he was like leaving this party and I like hadn't talked to him yet, and I totally could have been introduced to him and had someone like, I knew his homie that was there, and I was like, yo, right when he was leaving, I was like, I'm just gonna say what's up to him and tell him it's this guy. You know him?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. He was
He's
in
got he's got Detroiters.
Detroiters. Yeah.
Apple
Uh,
TV's got a show on there. It's like it's the ghetto or it's like one of those murder mystery shows on Apple TV. But he was
yeah,
leaving. He was like
he's
about to
great.
dip. Yeah, he's so funny. And like I just was like when he was walking by, and I think this is part of the way I like network with people. But I just like tapped him. I was like, "Yo, I know you're dipping. I just had to tell you like thank you, man. You made us laugh a lot. So thank you for what you do. You guys are geniuses." Oh man, thanks. And he had like a little point and shoot. And he's like, he just did this, and me and Lauren like got together and like we're like this, and then he just like took a fucking photo of us and then left. And I was
He
like,
took
what
the
the fuck?
picture. That's
He
great.
just took a photo of us and dipped. But it's like random shit like that is always funny and like
That's
cool.
cool.
But like, yeah, man, I don't know. That's always the key is just like treat people like giving them respect, but also every single time I'm meeting people, I'm like, I just am here to provide value. Like, I just want to give you value and help you succeed in whatever you're doing at the highest level I can. And that's always been it. But I've definitely been in some wild rooms, bro.
Yeah.
Some wild rooms.
When you're out in LA, when you're talking to people, meeting new people,
Hmm.
and you said the question doesn't really happen as much anymore, but when people ask you where you're from and you said Iowa, what were some of the responses that you got? Because these are always funny to me.
Oh, what the hell? They'd be like, what? Why are you here? You know what I mean? That type of shit.
Yeah.
Idaho? Is that the potato state? Like, bro, the amount of times people, or they'll like,
Yeah.
they know me. They may have known me for months. And we're like, cool. And they're like, yeah, this is Ben. He's from Idaho or he's from Ohio. I'm like, motherfucker, come on, man. But
Yeah.
people are always just like, what is there? And I'm like, me, I'm from there. Slipknot is from there. Kurt
Yeah.
fucking Warner's from there. I'm
Yeah.
like, nothing, corn, baby. Like, we're the corn state. So,
Yeah.
it is always funny because people are always laughing. Or like now that I'm back, I'm always telling my friends, like, you gotta pull up. They're like, pull up. I'm like, bro, we're having way more fun than y'all. I'm like, I swear to God, like on a random Thursday, one of my friends is burning like a story high pile of wood and we're having a dope little bonfire or like riding a jet boat out in the river going like
Yeah.
60 and you know what I mean? Like it's so much fun shit to do out here. So it's yeah, when people find out from Iowa, they're like so confused. They're like, what the hell?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
the crazier thing now is being here and living here and then running into people or like people finding out what I do. And then that's crazy. Like, cause it's just bizarre. Like I had like all in like 1 week, I got asked to keynote speak at UNI and I
Mm.
spoke to like the department I went to school for, like they had this cool thing. So I spoke to all these kids that were there. And then I was also the keynote speaker for career fair day at the ninth graders at the junior high, like to talk to all the ninth graders. And so like I had to go speak to like a couple hundred kids that are like probably like, why the hell am I here? And then like they're seeing me say I work with like athletes or whoever that they can connect with, you know, and they're just tripping because they're like, what? Like this is crazy. But I'm like, dude, if the younger me, like back in the day, like if anyone that had any sort of tie to the industry or any sort of success or had access to gear or whatever, I was like, okay, you're gonna be my best friend. Like I
Yeah.
need to know all of y'all, like anyone, bro. Like as soon as I became friends with Time Flies, like I'm cool with those guys. I'm hitting Cal, and I'm like, we're just staying in touch all the time. I'd shoot him over ideas, whatever the fuck it was, and like he just would always alley oop me into like understanding shit. And I remember being thinking that was so cool because I'd be driving around Cedar Falls and his songs playing on 92.3 on the radio, and like his song is a top 10 song at that time, and I'm like, dude, this guy's my friend now. Like that's so cool to me. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just being in the mix was like so like I was just so into that or like understanding like how I could use that as like a superpower just by being like a person that people like knew or could have access to or like wanted to be friends with or whatever it is. So um not like I'm building friendships strictly for greed, but it's like but I knew that I'd be able to mix with people that were doing really cool shit
Hmm.
um through them recognizing that I can do really cool shit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So do you
yeah,
deal
I
with
don't
a
know.
lot of being back home? Do you deal with any like people that are like friends that you never talked to for the longest time and they're like they they want you to be cool again and like shit like that, like because they're trying to like
Uh
cloud chase or whatever? Anything like that?
Not, I mean, yeah, there's definitely been some odd occurrences, but
Yeah.
because like since I've been home, like I then left and did a whole world tour, right? So I was like over in Europe, I'm with
Yeah.
Beyonce again, like doing some shit, and people knew I lived here. So like, especially my neighbors, they're always like, "Wait, did you just go to Europe?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like what? Like what? Like what the fuck? But like, I'll
Yeah.
like because we all this last year, basically, we've been working on a film for it's the Renaissance movie, which came
Mhm.
out in theaters like worldwide, literally worldwide. And so that feature film just came out, which is a documentary about Beyonce's last tour and the process of making the thing and everything. And I was like one of the main cinematographers on that project. So like doing that, and then I came home. Then we had like the newspaper got coverage on it, like the local
Mhm.
TV news stations doing coverage on it. Like the movie premiered in the theater here in town, like
Yeah.
all over all the theaters. Like it was like this whole thing. So like it's just another revamp, but people are just like, dude, that's crazy. So I go to like the gym and the chick at the front who's working there, she's like, hey, Mr. Popular, like I saw you in the paper today. Well, I'm like, oh yeah, weird, right? Like or like you
Yeah.
know what I mean, random shit. Or you walk into a place and like I went to Des Moines to drop my car off and I like went into a pub and this dude's like, Ben Hagarty, what's up? And I'm like, yo, what's up? And like a dude I haven't seen in forever, but like he just like as soon as I walked in, he saw me and was like, "What's he bought my drinks for the night or whatever." It was cool. So it's
Yeah.
like it's funny as hell, but yeah, there's been some weird ones too.
Yeah, some
I
weird
won't say
occurrences.
anything about them because they'll know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, working at that higher level and getting to the point where you're at, like obviously your name's on the line. Uh, a lot of pressure there, dealing with that and dealing with stress. So, what are some of the ways you're dealing with stress now? I know you started working on the nutrition and working out, and what keeps you grounded, would you
Yeah,
say?
man. Um, yes, I mean the health and wellness shit's been cool, and I don't know that that's necessarily been like it's helped me deal with the stress I've had about my health, but I don't know
Yeah,
that like I
that's
know
just a new thing. Yeah, newer thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I know some people like literally go to the gym because they're stressed out or
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm like I don't I just that kind of just pisses me off more that I have to go there like I'm
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean, so I
yeah.
haven't really found I'll just I think the best thing has been like those the activities or whatever that can literally make you pause, like not have to think about the chaos that's happening in your head about work or whatever. And so like video games, as much as I laugh about it, like I love that I can like I have like a couple friends and me and my brother and my other homie Tim Dodd, who's got like a really dope YouTube channel called Everyday Astronaut. He's from here too. And we'll literally play Call of Duty. We'll just like text each other and we call it banging. So it's like you want to bang
Nice. That's funny.
in the group chat and someone's always down. So then you literally just hop on and you got like an hour and in that hour it's just about like playing this stupid ass game, but I'm not thinking about what it is that's stressing me out or making me tired or whatever it is. And it's just like my little break in there. And I get that from other things too. Like I just reconnected with skateboarding like right before winter hit. And it was like so cool because I was like, I haven't
Awesome.
fucking skated in forever. And I got like to feel my youth again. And I don't know, it's been and obviously like, you watching shows and doing all this stuff, but I would say that I don't let a lot of things get to me if it is it's momentarily and I'm able to figure out like to me I would rather find a way to get through it quicker and get over it quicker, whatever it is that's stressing me out or pissing me off or whatever. I just want to get through it because as soon as I'm done, then I'm free. You know what I mean? So like and I also hate like if you're mad at someone or if you're in an argument or you're going whatever, there's people that are doing stuff that you don't like and it's like I just don't have time for that shit. So I just want to neutralize it as quick as possible. And like the jobs that I do are stressful, but I've also been at it for a while. So like I know it's just
You
for
know
a
how to
little bit of
navigate it.
time. Yeah, like it has an end date, you know what I mean? So most of the time. But yeah, and now it's just like now that I'm home, like I'm kind of looking forward to like this week has been like my first week of not having to do shit for a long time. And so it's been filled with a ton of shit. Like I have this to-do list. I'm constantly like trying to bang through all this shit. And then there's always new things I'm adding on there, but there's like all this random stupid shit that I've been waiting to do. Like I like
Yeah.
can't wait to like clean my office or redo my whole closet with my gear or like take care of my hard drives or just stupid little things. Like so I've been doing that all week, but it is funny because I've just been like that's been kind of rewarding is to just like do these mindless things that aren't getting me anywhere towards like a new job or whatever, but I'm like purposely trying to avoid work for a couple weeks so I can actually like enjoy myself and just kick back or whatever and like I don't know, go do plan a trip somewhere with my girl or with my dad or you know what I mean? Like something like that is just like that stuff's like the things that you can do to try to like offset the chaos of the grind.
And also not getting an ego because you obviously you could go around flexing if you wanted to, but obviously you
Yeah.
don't. That's not your thing.
Mm-mm.
And you try to remain humble and because yeah, it could be really easy for you to be like, yeah, I did all this shit and
Yeah.
but where do you think that comes from? Is that just your personality where you're just like, yeah,
Um,
this is what I do. I do a good job, and then I just keep
yeah,
doing what I'm
keep
doing.
doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I think, like uh we used to call it woofing, like me and my boy Chuck, we'd always be like, oh, I don't want to woof on them, right? Like I don't want to be howling about how dope I am
Yeah, yeah.
and just woofing about all my accolades or whatever. Because you could fly like when I do. Do
Yeah.
you know how many conversations I get in with people and they start talking to me about shit like I don't know what they're talking about? I'm like, bro, I've been done that a million times over,
Yeah.
and like I get in these conversations and I could literally just be like, make sure they know, like, but I also will be like, but also this is like their little win, like they want to feel confident, they want to talk about their thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll let them have it. I'll just sit and ride this bike for a little bit, but like, I
Yeah.
think like I also realized that it's funny because like, dude, I remember like literally being in the basement with the dudes and we're like working on music and we're doing all this shit and like
Hmm.
I took a trip out to LA and I got to go out there for the first time and I got to see Chuck had moved there. A dude that was like my mentor and also when you go back to mentors from music and creativity, Chuck, my boy Mark, like I have so many musician friends from here that were mentors.
Hmm.
But he had moved out to California. So he was living at Craig's house before I ever moved out to Craig's. I flew out there to visit him. And when I visited him, I was just like in California, kind of near the around people in the industry. It felt like cool. And then
Hmm.
I remember one night we're like at this dude's house and he's got like green screen and all this shit in his house. And there's like a musician, they had a studio thing. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then they're like, oh, the one chick was like, hey, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go hang out with my friend who's Travis Barker's photographer. Does anyone want to go? And like everyone in the house is like, meh. And I was like, me and Chuck are kind of looking at each other like, yo, let's fucking go. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, so we slid. We're like, yeah,
Opportunity.
we'll go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, so we go there and it's like, he's not there, but it's just his studio, his personal studio. And his photographer's there and he's going through editing photos. He's just hanging out, smoking weed probably and chilling.
Yeah.
And we just were there till like, I didn't want to leave. Like, we were there till like 6 in the morning or 7. Like, the sun had fully come up and we just chilled in this little studio. And I remember like getting that taste. And then I came home and I'm just like, me and Chuck are just like, dude, we're there, this and this, just by being in this spot, hanging out, turned into like, let's go to Travis's, like anything's fucking possible. You know what I mean? Like I remember thinking
Yeah.
that, and like we would just be like, oh shit. Or then I went out again, and the second time I went out, I got to work. I shot behind the scenes for Chris Brown and Seven Streeter, and I got to shoot the behind the scenes for his video. And I wasn't supposed to, but I like ended up doing it. And it was like
Yeah.
this really cool experience. And I came home and I'm like, I fucking was supposed to be a fly on the wall, and I finessed it, and I got in there, and I got the camera, and I got to shoot it, and I'm literally sitting there asking Chris about shit, whatever. I'm like, dude, we gotta be in the space. And I remember like we'd come back and we all just be like celebrating these things. And then now the things happen so regularly, like the wins are like winning all the time. Like, and not saying that to be like a douche, but it's like I'm
Yeah.
like doing just I'm so lucky and I get to work on such cool shit at the
Yeah.
highest level. But now it's like weird, like when we're around places or we're like we're out to dinner with people and someone's trying to like do a little network show, like, oh, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm like a video director, and I produce videos for like musicians and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And then they're like, anyone I know? And I'm like, yeah, like Beyonce, and but I'm like before,
Yeah.
like you would have been like, I fucking work with
You
Beyonce.
could have led with that. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's you
Yeah.
want to flex that shit, but there's something now where it's like I don't want to sound like I'm cool. I'm too cool to like connect. Like
I'm still
there's
just a
some weird
guy.
thing where,
Yeah.
yeah, like but people will be like, oh, I'm an artist and I do these things and blah blah blah, and like they're very like shitty the way they present it, and like I never want to be that guy, but I don't know what that where that fear comes from to like
Because you
present it that way.
maybe because you met people like that and you're like, that I don't want to be like that. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I
it.
think so. You're just like either you're full of shit or you're such a like you want us to love you. That shit. And I'm like,
Egotistical. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, I because it's cool as fuck. Like I know what I've done is hard to do and to get to where I am it's very hard to do. So when I'm meeting other creatives or whatever, like I know that they're gonna be jacked or something. So I'm like, whatever. If the conversation comes up, we'll get to it. But like I might not start out that way, but it's always just funny. Or like you get in an Uber and the Uber person's like, oh, we're just trying to shoot the shit. And
Hmm.
like all the time my girl will be like he's just being humble, like ask him who he works for or something, like what I mean, like that type of
Ah,
shit.
shit.
But I don't know, it's always it's interesting that that's how it is because we would have like it's like striking gold, you know what I mean? And I remember what it was like to strike a little bit of gold and then come home and we're just like looking at it and just like, oh wow, like dude, you know what I mean? Because there's motivation, it's inspiration, all this
Yeah.
shit, and then now it's like
That spark,
you
dude.
don't, yeah, you don't want to I don't want to be like screaming about it because I don't want to come off like pretentious or whatever. But it's weird because it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like I do the coolest shit in the world. Like it's like the coolest job
It's still
ever.
bizarre. It's still bizarre to you that
Yeah, it's
this
fucking
is
crazy.
what.
Like
Yeah.
I would celebrate like I'm just thinking about, bro, I'm just thinking about the kid that is doing the wants to do the same shit as me, and they are here and they go to you and I, or they go to the high school or whatever it is, they go to school or they're so into like filmmaking. And like, if I knew I lived here and like me and you probably were crossing paths at Hy-Vee getting groceries or
Mhm.
fucking whatever, like, dude, if I like, I would just be going nuts bugging them. Like, I would just be bugging me nonstop. Like, so, like, holy shit, like, this is like a key to like my life. You know what I mean? Like, and inspired and shit. So I'm like, it's cool that like I want to be able to celebrate that, but I think I need to build the spaces for that to be celebrated, like where I can build like you know, get a creative meetup going or do these things to like try to bring people
Because
together, talk to
you've done that
schools
in
and
the
shit.
because you've done the meetups in the past. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
networking, and I feel like you're trying to build that back right now.
Yeah, yeah, we are. The podcast, I paused that for a while and then we're gonna bring that back with Canon, um,
Sponsoring
hopefully
it.
February. Yeah, so we shot Can so I'm a Canon ambassador and I got to sign to them in 2021. And so now I am like that's my those are my people. So when I wanted to bring the podcast back, I originally just we talked about this before. I was like, yo, if I could just do audio podcasts, I would, but it's like we want to be able to like share clips and shit.
Yeah.
And I was just so tired of we had done a podcast and I'd done like 240 podcast episodes, most of them in person.
Hmm.
And then COVID hit and we did a bunch of Zoom shit. But like I'd done so many podcast episodes, like burnt out. And then when I came back, I was like, I just want to still have cool conversations and just I'm just gonna record audio and fucking upload it. And if only people find it, who gives a shit, whatever. But then when I told Ken, I was like, hey, could I borrow, like, could I come do this in your space? And just, I'll set up two chairs and just chat with someone. They're like, yo, what if we did like a thing? Like, we could promote like a new camera we're using and use your podcast as like the set for us to film the camera. And then in return, we'll give you like a set. And I was like, oh shit. So I got like a budget, built a ridiculous fucking studio space for the podcast and did like a season. And that's when I cracked the code. I was like, podcasts by seasons will change the game because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You can take a break. And so,
Yeah, I need to
yeah,
get to that point because I'm just every other Monday episode, no
I did it.
seasons.
I did it.
Yeah.
I know it's brutal, but the seasons is cool because, bro, I'm patiently waiting for Below Deck to fucking come out with a new episode on Wednesdays or whatever, or Tuesdays. Like, the shout out to anyone who watched that show, but it's like, it comes out and then the season ends and then a new season begins and I get to look forward to it. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to give up on the podcast if it stops posting for a while, if it gave me some sort of value. So that's once I realized that, I was like, all right, maybe this is possible to bring it back. We actually recorded it like a year ago. So it's like a classic Black Widow Cream situation where I've just been sitting on the episodes. We're like finishing editing all of that, all the socials right now. Um, and doing all that shit, but that's going to come out February and that'll be cool to come back with it. And I do want to tie community, like live community events, but also like our online community because we've had it for a while, but it's just been kind of like a
Hmm.
ghost town, and I haven't really pushed it too hard. But
Yeah.
building like that's been my favorite. That's like my second favorite hobby is like being able to build a space for creatives to come together and connect with each other and really like be able to open up or feel vulnerable and share their work, even if it's trash or whatever, and like ask for proper critiques. And
Yeah.
we've been trying to build Black Widow Cream as like that safe space for creatives to have that. And then on top of it, discovery, bro. Like people are in my community and have gotten life-changing jobs. Like so many, there's so many success stories I could tell about people that were just in Black Widow Cream, part of this thing uh, and just found like a connection to someone or whatever, and like their life changed after it. And that's what's so cool about it. So I haven't had time to really be pushing it, but when this podcast comes back out, I want to like fully reactivate it and really pump some new blood into it and build community space. So like bringing even in Iowa, if I could just get a little chapter going here, the Black No Cream Iowa chapter, and we could all just meet up at a coffee shop and shoot the shit
Hmm.
or wherever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, um, but I'm gonna do I want to do the season finale of the podcast. I want to do it in LA and I'm gonna do like a proper event, like 500 or 1,000 people. I'm gonna get a space and do because people have been asking me to do that for since I started Black Window Cream. I've never done it. So I want to do like a proper um like live podcast recording workshops, like have like panelists and shit from like the industry and get all these people together to like come and learn and network and you know what I mean? Like it'll be pretty epic, I think.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way for you to give back, obviously, because you're like, I have gotten all these opportunities, and I want to be able to share this knowledge with other people that, that really want to do what I'm doing or
Totally.
just want to be in the creative space in general.
Yeah,
Because it's
dude. It,
because it's even if you do work your ass off, it's still tough. I mean, you got to find but it's all about seizing opportunities, like you were saying. Like you had that opportunity to go over Travis. You said it was Travis Barker, right?
yeah, yeah,
And go
Travis,
over to his
his
house,
studio.
and he wasn't even there, but his photographer was there, and you're like, this is an opportunity, and a bunch of other people passed on it, and you and your friend were like, we're going.
Yeah, yeah. And it was cool. Like I honestly, like nothing really came from that but the motivation. Like
Yeah,
that night
that's
gave me that
something.
little,
That's yeah,
yeah.
that's
Well, and then I went to Travis's house and I've shot two commercials with him now for this vegan cheese company called
yeah, yeah,
BioLife.
yeah. I've seen
And
that.
so we did one at his house, which was cool. And so like him and Courtney were there. I met them and shit. And then I worked with Travis like on this project. And at the end of it, we were just like talking about stuff. And I was like, yeah, man, it's crazy. Like I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you this or not, but I like got in your personal studio like mad years ago, and that shit like got me so jacked to like want to move out here. And like it's funny that that gave me such motivation to be out here, and now we're working together. You know what I mean? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
fucking weird. Like it doesn't make any sense.
It's like, who
But
let
like
you in? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, no, because he knew the photographer, he knew what it
Yeah,
was, but it was
yeah.
cool. And then we ended up shooting in his new studio, and his new studio feels like a replica of his old studio. So I was like, bro, this feels like he's like, oh yeah, I forgot you said you were at the old spot. Yeah, isn't this crazy? Like I had it kind of designed similar, blah, 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 blah. And so like he had his new revamped version of his studio is so ill. So I'm like, dude, that's so funny to think like how important that was for that moment for me just to be in that space. Like we didn't want to go to sleep. We didn't want to get tired because everyone was just shooting the shit, talking, hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever. And it was just such good energy and shit. And I'm just like in this cool spot. I'm looking at these fucking cool photos on the wall, and like I'm playing on his drums. I told him that shit. And I was like, I remember FaceTime my boy who's like a huge Blink fan who lived in Cedar Falls. It was like 3, 4 in the morning for him
Yeah.
probably. And I'm FaceTiming him. He's like, hello. He's like waking up. He has to work and shit. I'm like, dude, look at these drums. And I like turn it, and he's like, what the hell? And I'm just like, pop, 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 pop. I'm like, dude, I'm on at Travis Barker's fucking personal drum set. And then he's like, what the fuck? I was like, should I steal a drumstick? Like, I was like, should I take a stick from him? I was like, nah, like, I didn't even think security cameras were popping like that back then, but I was like, nah, I'm just not gonna do it. And then
Yeah.
when we were on set, I told him that story, and I was like, so can I have these drumsticks that we just used in the video? He's like, yeah, bro, like have them, go for it. And I was like, all right, cool. So I gave them to my boy Neil, like, yo, finally got you the sticks, bro. Like he gave them to you. That's cool. So
That's sick.
I don't know, just random stories, man. Like shit, it's just it's a trip. Life's a trip.
Yeah, and it sounds like you just like enjoyed that moment, and you just being in that moment allowed you to build motivation and just be like get that extra drive to be like this is what I want to do, and I really want to do this, like, and getting that. Yeah, because you, like you said, no networking came out of that or anything like that, but that you can't put a price on that motivation that you got
Mm-mm.
from that experience. Like
No,
it's
yeah,
huge.
it just showed that it was like that's how possible it is if you're in the space. And I always knew that. I was like, if I'm in California, who knows what could happen? Because like someone
Yeah.
could be doing a music video or someone could be over here and like I could just be there. Like who knows? And then I literally went there and I was just there and someone's like, who wants to go to Transpark? You know what I mean? Like that's just it like proved my point. So it was um it was pretty a unique opportunity. And dude, it's like that every single time. Like still to this day, I'm like, all right, cool. Like if I do this thing, blah blah blah, maybe it'll build this network, this connection with this person, and then it does. You know what I mean? Like it just continues to by like putting in the work and showing the effort and doing all these things like one after another, like cool opportunities just keep happening and you just keep developing these new relationships and get into these inspiring places where I'm like, bro, I was just in Brazil. Like that's fucking crazy. Like I've never been to Brazil ever in my life. And I only was there for 30 hours. Like at 30 hours. I slept for 2 or 3 of those hours. And it was like it's just surreal that that's part of my life. You know what I mean? Like it's just nuts. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. But but also like even just that job, like I did Travis's shit and then I flew to Brazil. But like while I had to finish Travis's video, we had already agreed to like work with the client to work on that and deliver it on the 28th. So I knew I was gonna have to work through Christmas to make sure that video is getting done. And then adding Brazil to the mix was like an even bigger twist because now I knew I was gonna have to be like completely um, 100% focused on that job while I was in Brazil. So I had to make sure I had vetted out an editor and found like a good editing team that could be like working on the project while I'm gone, and I could give notes from like my phone on during the flights or whenever I'd have the time. I was like, so I had to create a whole plan, and then so I was still stressed out. And then to get home and you think like, oh, once I get home from Brazil, I'm like, I'm done and I can finally rest from this crazy year. But then I got home and it was like I had to balance Christmas while still finishing this project. Like we were editing on Christmas Eve, which sounds shitty, and most people are like, "Dude, just fucking you got work-life balance." But I'm like, this. I specifically took it knowing that I would have to do that, and I also found an editor that didn't have a lot of plans that for Christmas, like like that wasn't
Yeah,
like a big thing
yeah,
for them, so we were able to do the job. So it was like, but those are just the things that I'll put myself to the test on, challenge myself, and those are the types of clients that are going to recognize that work and work ethic, and like they're going to be like, all right, cool, like Ben's always going to be the person for the job because they saw this through, they did this in possible deadline, they got it done, and yeah,
yeah.
it's
You
crazy.
can. Yeah, when somebody knows they can count on you, that's huge. I mean,
It's
like, because
massive.
there's so many people. Because before you even got the to go on tour with Schoolboy Q, obviously they had been on tours before and they've used other people. Like
Yeah.
somebody didn't do something right, probably. For because otherwise you wouldn't
It's
have gotten that opportunity, or maybe
no,
they were
you're
too.
right.
Yeah, somebody
They
probably.
they said they said that they would always have like someone would come through and be like a friend, and then they'd come through because they're just the homie, and then they'd just be like getting drunk or smoking weed or whatever, and then just like not delivering or whatever. And like there's just plenty of people that have come through and just not completed the job or whatever. And so I knew that that was kind of like their past history.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, wait till you see what the fuck I'm gonna do, because I'm gonna
Yeah,
have like every single night a grip of photos. Every single week we're gonna put out a new vlog series. Like I had this whole thing in my head, and I'm like, also, you don't even understand how epic it's about to look. Like I've been perfecting like the way I could capture content by doing all this behind the scenes on music videos and trying to make those look interesting. I'm like, wait till you see my show shit. Like I've been thinking about this for so long, and like I go through that process. Like even bro, honestly, another cool moment. Like oh, and actually, TD, ever since I stopped working with them, or like after that job, and then like whatever, I had a couple more jobs with like various projects with them, and then Beyonce World took off, so then I wasn't working with them on much shit. But ever since then, ever the conversation's always like, man, like because they could have easily just hired me, and I could have worked for them full time or some shit. I probably would have at the drop of like
yeah. At that time,
and
yeah,
but they're like, man, it's hard to replace you. Like honestly, they went through multiple people and to try to find like the right person to replace me, and it was like really hard for them. So the conversation was always like, man, we missed out or some shit. You know what I mean? So it was always
yeah,
like they'd hit me with that on the side, like, bro, we wish we should have kept you around, or we shouldn't have like whatever, because they just didn't have a lot of money. So it was always like, bro, come on, like I'm doing all this work, like I need to get paid. And when I
yeah,
realized what probably wasn't gonna get very much money, I just had to go find other jobs. But so that was always cool. But on Q's tour, it was dope because when we were in Seattle, we like uh we played somewhere there, and like I feel like we were in the Seahawks like dressing room or some shit. Like that was our green room.
hmm,
And Macklemore came in. And it was funny because at that time during the school era, me making music and hip hop shit, Macklemore was popping with Thrift Shop, and all those songs were
yeah, yeah.
huge. And
Huge.
his name was Ben Hagarty, or
Yeah,
is Ben Hagarty. So
yeah,
we had the same name as like this ongoing joke, especially because I was like a
yeah.
white rapper, he's a white rapper, whatever. So that joke had been going internally with like my friend group and just always Facebook or like whatever forever, because he'd always put his videos were directed by Ben Hagarty or music was by Ben Hagarty, even though his name's Macklemore. And so people would always get confused.
And he
And
spells it a little differently, right?
yeah, he's got like two G's or whatever, so he spells it
Yeah,
just slightly off. But people
yeah,
see it and they just think it's me.
yeah,
And I remember like my ongoing joke is like, bro, I can't wait. I need to meet him someday and tell him like, yo, you gotta pick
yeah,
a name or whatever. And then
yeah.
he came in
Talk
the room
shit.
and I was like, here we go. Finally, we're gonna meet each other. Like this was destined to happen. Like, you know what I mean? And but he came in. I remember like I filmed the moment. It was like real, like authentic. Like he came in, everyone said what's up to each other, all catching up, cracking jokes, whatever. And then it kind of like chilled out where I didn't need to film anymore. So I put the camera down, and he's like, "Yo, have you been the one doing all the videos?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And he's like, "Bro," he's like, "I have such a high standard for like video content, like my tour video content." He's like, "Your shit is like above the bar, like you're killing it." Like he's like, "These are so good, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." I was like, "Yo, I've been meaning to tell you this. We have the same birth name." And he's like, And he's like, "Are you doing the photos too?" Like he didn't hear me, and I was like pulling my wallet out and like pulling out my ID. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm doing the photos too." But bro, we had the same name, and like he's like, "Wait, what?" And he thought it was like a joke or some shit. And someone else was like, "Nah, man, we've been saying he's like the other little Macklemore, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, bro, I've been meaning to tell you like whatever." I don't remember what I ended up saying to him, but
Yeah,
it was like
yeah,
a joke. It was funny, but it was cool as fuck because he's giving me my flowers. And I'm like, you don't realize how many times he would like his tour content, especially when he was at his, like the biggest tours, like when he was doing arenas and shit.
yeah,
The way they were filming and documenting that and like putting in together these cool stories, I would watch that shit on repeat. Everyone come to the studio to record music and shit. I'd be like, watch this video, watch this video, watch this video, and we would watch it over and over again. I'm like, so for me to have studied the fuck out of what you were doing and then you turn around and tell me you have this high standard and I'm like above that, I'm like, bro, that's like the coolest compliment ever. And he tried to have me like go on a tour with him. He tried to have me work with him a couple times, but every time he hit me I was like in Beyonce world, and like so we were already so busy with like
yeah.
Coachella and then touring, and so it never worked out. But he's still we were both just in Stockholm, like when I was there with Beyonce this last time in the summer, and we finished our show and he's texting me like 2 in the morning, like, "What's up, man? Like, are you in Stockholm?" I'm like, "Yeah, we just got done." I was like, "Are you here?" He's like, "Yeah, we had a show." I was like, "Fuck, I wish I would have known. I would have got you in the thing." He's like, "All right, we're probably out at this bar for a little longer and whatever. And if you want," and I just couldn't come over there because it was like I was so dead after shooting our shows. But
Yeah.
I'm like, what a weird life, bro. Like that's so funny. Like it's just,
You
and
need a
I
ba
actually hired him. I hired him later at a certain point for Madden too. Like I got him a job during COVID on that thing I stayed up for 4 hours. I got him to be part of the talent. We had like 54 different artists, celebrity people,
Oh yeah,
athletes and shit.
yeah. I remember seeing that.
And
Yeah,
so
it was dope.
yeah, so I got
Yeah,
him to be a part of it too.
you need to do like a Ben Hagarty featuring Ben
Something.
Hagarty,
Somehow we got to make
some
something
type of thing
together.
with both of your names in it, spelled
Yeah.
slightly
I
differently. Yeah.
well, I texted him. I was like, "Yo, do you play Madden? I have this like video concept. I think I could get you a bag if you wanted to play Madden for like this Madden thing." And he's like, "I haven't played Madden in like 10 years, but I could always learn again for the bag." I was like, "All right, let's get it."
Yeah.
It
Hell yeah.
was funny as fuck.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have a lot of respect for Macklemore too, just being that because I'm in recovery and he's in recovery and
yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
cool.
he's very open about it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. That Dax Shepard, he's really open about his recovery too,
Oh
which is
yeah,
always interesting to hear his stories. And I know
he's
he's
got
been
a
through the
great
ringer too.
podcast too.
I love his podcast. It's really
Armchair
good.
Expert. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. They switched to Spotify, so it's always annoying because I use Apple Podcasts and I always forget that it's like it was like exclusive to that for a long time. So I'm like, fuck, I always so
yeah.
whenever I remember I
Oh,
switch over. I know. But that's a great yeah, dude. I mean that's it's these industries are so grueling and shit. And so I know these outlets like us talking about who knows who connects through this or finds any of this valuable, or
hmm,
maybe it's some, hopefully it's some sort of inspiration or something from comes from it, but or hopefully it's just like someone hears this and then explores your podcast and finds other episodes that end up helping them in the long run, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
by having these, it's a cool way to express yourself or share, um hoping that the takeaways could be worth someone's time. Or I don't know. I don't know how many times I've heard someone say some shit that just motivated the fuck out of me. They'll never know that they did it. It's like
exactly, dude.
it's crazy. But it's crazy now because I keep running into him. Like I don't know how many times I heard Jay-Z and listen to him all the time, and then I get to fucking work with this dude. Like, you know what I mean? Or whoever. It's
Yeah,
it's just bizarre, bro. Like it's bizarre.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you've done stuff more for Beyonce, and are they together a lot, or did they have to do a lot of, you know?
Well, during the first job I did with her was Coachella. So we prepared for Coachella and then shot like a film for that, which came out on Netflix. And so Jay came out and did a song, but he was there. I mean, they're married and they have kids and shit. So
Yeah, that's what I'm
they're
saying.
always around. And then right after that, we went on tour and it was the On the Run 2 tour, which was their joint tour. So it was like
Yeah,
both of them performing and
yeah.
like he plays songs, she plays songs, they play songs together, that type of shit. So we did that. So we were on the road for that for like 6 months or whatever. Um, yeah, super like the coolest, man. Just like the coolest. And just everyone on the tour is always so dope. But it's just like crazy sometimes just to be like, yo, I
Because
just Jay
they have crazy work ethics too. I can imagine, like to get
yeah,
to
it's
where they're at.
motivating as fuck. Like they just go so hard. They just like, they're just so talented
Such
and
a
like,
power couple. It's insane. Like the
yeah.
definition of a power
But
couple.
and they just work. They have the mentality to working at the greatest level. So it challenges you to work at the greatest level
Yeah.
and do an output that you've never maybe done before, but you're motivated and you feel like it's totally possible because you're around her and you're around all the stars that they bring around you. You know what I mean? Like every single person that's brought in to like work for them is like handpicked and so good at what they do. So you're around all this dope talent from like the band, from the dancers, from the crew, from the sound people, all these people, they're the top dogs. So like the best to ever do it. You know what I mean? And so it's just so cool to be a part of that like elite group of people that put together such magical experiences for people, but also just documenting it and shit. So yeah, the movie was super rewarding, man. Go watching that movie. Like it was so cool to watch the film. It's actually crazy that we did that all in a year and it came out that same year. That's actually nuts because it's like
That's not
making a
normal
movie
for
is real.
movies. Yeah.
No, it's fucking insane. So like the film's like 3 hours long. So you're seeing the show shot and captured the illest way possible, and then this documentary experience of like the process of the tour coming together. And we were there for the majority of all that. You know what I mean? So like I'm
Hmm.
watching my footage and all these story points that we were telling throughout the thing, playing it and watching it in the Cedar Falls movie theater. Like I first went and did the premiere at the Waterloo movie theater. So it
Hmm.
was dope because I went out to LA for the premiere. We watched it with like JB, everyone that was there, all these celebrities and shit. Then I came back and my mom threw a dope party for me. And we had like a Renaissance party. And then everyone that went to the party went to the theater and we packed up the theater and everyone watched it and took a big photo in front of it and all the shit was
Yeah.
super cool. And then the next night I went to the Cedar Falls theater and well, I actually got tickets to go to the Cedar Falls showing like after the Waterloo showing. We went to like the 7 o'clock, and I was gonna go to like the 10:31. But like by the time we were done, we were like celebrating mode. Like I'm like, let's go to the bar, like whatever. And
Yeah.
so the next day, I hit him. I was like, hey, I had like walked in. I was like, I had like tickets to come to this, like my movie playing. Is it cool if I just like pop in and check it for a little bit? They're like, oh yeah, sure, go for it, man. I was like, all right, sick. So I like, got in the movie for free, and I'm just like sitting there in the theater, bro. And I don't know how many movies I've watched in that movie theater, and same with the Waterloo movie theater. Like
Yeah.
how many movies I watched that inspired me or got me thinking differently or got me like creatively jacked the fuck up. And now my shit is like looking so amazing on that screen, telling the story of like such artists of our generation. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's bizarre. It's crazy. That's like such a cool way to end the year is having that movie come out and
Sharing that experience
exist.
with
Yeah.
so many
People from
people.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was nuts, man. You go wide, be on TikTok or Twitter and see like fans watching it in Paris, and there's like a theater in Paris that it literally was like a arena, like it could hold, or not arena, sorry, like a proper theater that could hold like 1,500 people,
Yeah.
except it was a movie theater, and there was literally people wall to wall standing up. It looked like they were at a concert, and they're just dancing and singing along with the song and like reacting to
Yeah.
shit, and just like I was like, what the fuck? That's so. And like our shit was, people were just filming and sending me videos from like Germany, from fucking wherever, somewhere in Africa, wherever they were at, like they're all seeing this film, all of our hard work playing in these theaters, like all around the world. And it's like a bizarre, it's just bizarre, bro. But it was like a really cool, that was like my second film working with her. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
um, it deserves awards. It deserves like, it's gonna live in history. Hopefully it's streams and shit. I don't know what the plan is for it next because it's just in theaters, but a lot of people I know didn't have time to go see it when it was out. So,
Hmm.
um, I'd love for more people to see it, but yeah, I could talk all day about it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that consumed your life for a while working on that.
Yeah, all 2023 it was nuts.
All 2023. Yeah.
Pretty
So
much.
did you
Plus,
have
I
to
had
turn?
a couple more jobs on top of that.
I was like, did you have to turn down stuff too? Obviously.
Hmm.
Yeah, like people
Yeah.
were reaching out to you like, I just yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were gonna do like a full launch of our company, and then my dad got sick, so then we postponed. And then I came home and I was kind of taking a couple jobs, but I wanted to take it easy.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to hit go mode on the new business because I know what it's going to take to like really get it off the ground and how much like groundwork we're gonna have to do with it. And then I was like, all right, top of 2023, like we could start that. And then immediately as soon as that happened, like it was like got the text, hey, can you come to Brazil or come to Dubai? And I was like, all right. So then I had to go to Dubai and I was there for like almost a month, and then right after that, it turned into tour, and then tour was like multiple months, and you know what I mean. So it was like there's a lot of uh jobs, people hit you up and be like, hey, I saw you were on tour, but is there anyone that you know that can do this? So then we can facilitate those jobs, like we hit them up. But that's kind of the difference. That's why we're starting a company anyways, because I'm just me. So a lot of people pay attention to my like social life and they could see like, oh, Ben's on tour or whatever. He might not be available for this job. And then it might go to someone else. But we have the infrastructure to be able to handle multiple projects at the same time
Yeah.
and have other leaders take over and direct and do things like that. So we're building that storefront so that we have something that separates us from our personal names with me and my partner. So uh, that's what I hope to really expand on this year is building that and Black Widow Cream. And I feel like this year is going to be nuts, but I'm hoping that I can take it easy for at least like 2 more weeks before it starts. I know it's about to fucking just reign supreme.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So
coming.
so have you ever had any working with Beyonce, have you ever had any like I know we won't get too deep into that, but like just for the people listening that are like big Beyonce fans, have you had the opportunity to get to know her a little bit on a personal level at all? Or is it kind of like, hey, you gotta you gotta kind of separate that and like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like
No, I mean we're around. We
don't
get
talk to the don't talk to the talent type of thing, or is it like more like,
no. They're the friendliest people on the planet. Like they're so nice and like
yeah,
they're such hard workers and like it's cool because like by being a documentarian, I get to have this like unique perspective. You know what I mean? Like I'm in all the rooms and during the process, I'm like there and we're just working towards some shit. And there's always gonna be downtime and time to chat, but like
yeah,
it's just like it's finding that fine line of doing that, but also being this fly on the wall to capture, like
yeah,
truly capture authentic moments and shit. So, um, yeah, dude, people are always asking me that. They're like, they don't even understand. They're like, wait, so have you met her? I'm like, go watch the movie, like, go watch our movie. Like,
I
it's shit
had
that's
to.
happening. Like, you can hear my voice in the movie, like me asking her questions and shit. It's funny. Like, you literally hear my voice in the movie theater. It's crazy. Like, it's so funny to think like that they didn't just replace me with like someone dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How is today going? You know what I mean? It could have been anyone, but it's me. But I think, yeah, that's always the question people get are like, are they mean? I'm like, what are you taught? Like the way the internet sets people up to look like they're fucking insane or something is
Yeah.
crazy, bro. The way people are like, oh no, I know about. Oh, you worked with this person, they're blah blah blah. They did this with their taxes, or so they'll talk about some other artists I work with, or this and that, or this company I work with. It's like everyone has an opinion on shit, and I'm like, y'all don't even know these people. You don't know, no, you know what I mean? It's weird. Like,
Yeah.
um, but that's why I never like I let. I think the reason I am where I'm at is that I am able to keep those private moments with these people and our interactions
And keep them
stay
private.
private.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep them private
You
and I don't
respect that.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can, I mean, and that's like that's why it works is because they're allowed to be themselves around me,
Yep.
knowing that they can trust me. And so that's something I pride myself on. And so yeah, but overall, I mean, they're the best. They're the greatest. I love like everyone I work with, dude. Like Alicia Keys, she's the best. She's so nice. Like all these, dude, it's like crazy. I'm working with all these people, but um they're like the coolest. And it's funny too, like when they give me compliments on shit and they're just like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. Like all this,
Yeah.
that's how it always played. Like Beyonce shit, like when me getting the job with her, I was like,
Yeah.
I took a risk at the beginning. Like I heard a need for something and I suggested it. And I shouldn't have probably suggested it. Like I probably wasn't the person to even, but everyone was like, yes, that would be great. Can you do that? Yeah, sure. And the next thing you know, I'm like, film one of these like main cameras on her live concert or whatever. And so like to me, I'm analyzing, I'm like, it's not like I'm not like doing something wrong by suggesting this. It's just probably like there's probably some sort of chain of command. I should maybe ask someone else if they want whatever.
You
Actually, I
could
did.
you
I
did?
did. I basically did because I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I like had asked the creative director. I was like, "Hey, do you want to see this thing I shot? Maybe this will solve your problems." And he saw it and he told me to show it to B, and then she saw it and then she was like, "That's amazing. Can we do that?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I just kept going, like kept working that way. So I like technically did follow it, but I didn't know if he was the right person to ask or if I should just show it. But whatever, I knew that they needed this thing, and so I
Hmm.
found a way to ask. And in my head, my thought process was like, I'm not supposed to be here, man. I'm not supposed to be the fucking person doing this shit. Like at the end of the day, I wasn't supposed to get in this room anyway. Like it's not anyone. There's so many more people more capable or more, in the shit or had the connections or whatever it is with the experience or something that we're supposed to be in this room. I'm not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in Iowa, and I happen to just end up in here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so if they don't like the suggestion, I just go back to what I was doing because it wasn't that bad anyway. Like, you know what I mean? But like, or they'll like it, and who knows what we can do with it, and we like fucking change the game. It was dope. Like, and it's been like that, and I just know when to stand up for thoughts and ideas that I have and when it's appropriate to ask them with your clients and your and the brands I work with and all this shit and like propose shit and tell people things and like you just people will respect you for being able to have those opinions and share those ideas and not being afraid of like whatever it is that people normally are afraid of for sharing. So uh, I've just always been really good on reading the room and reading the people I work with and knowing what they're looking for or listening and
Hmm.
constantly listening and soaking in like, okay, cool. Like this is what this person wants or this is what this person would love to have and they don't even know it yet.
Yeah.
Let's go make it for them. You know what I mean? And if that can add value to their life and lift them up and help them grow or do whatever it is, um, let me do it. You know, I'm gonna do it the best way I know how, and then hopefully it works out for that person, you know.
I think
It's
that's
crazy.
the key word you brought up there is value. Like you were able to provide value.
Hell of
Um,
value.
yeah, that's the biggest thing is that that's why they kept you around. Otherwise, they
Yeah.
yeah, because there's so many people that out there, creating and doing videography, photography, whatever. But if you're not standing out and providing value, then you're easily replaceable.
Or
So
forgettable.
or forgettable. Yeah.
Yeah. More, I mean, a lot of people you can tell when people like there's people that are just selfishly trying to get their shit in. And so it's like you can tell when someone's truly passionate about like I didn't pick up my camera to make money. I never ever thought I would make a living doing
Hmm.
anything with film. And I had no idea. I didn't know with music. I just thought it was a way of life. Like when we were
Yeah.
in bands, we needed enough money to get us from fucking some Topeka, Kansas to somewhere in Illinois. We needed like $60 to get us from our van from there to there. And we're gonna eat some ramen, and it is what it is. And I never thought like we didn't make music thinking like someday we're gonna be rich and famous.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it was like no, people. This will just be what we do. You know what I mean? I think like that's just the way of life. So it's the same thing with making films and video work and all that shit is like I picked up my camera because I am so obsessed with the art form and somehow work it became a job and somehow it pays my bills. And so I know a lot of people now see it as like a potential income source, so they pick up the camera specifically to make money.
Mm.
Um, and some of those people end up in the same positions I'm in or are fighting for it, and you can just tell that maybe they don't have the mindset for creating real art. They're just there trying to create, but
What they
mainly
think
to make
people
money.
want
Yeah, they
so
want
they can
money
make
or they
money.
want cosigns, they want, clout, whatever the fuck it
Yeah.
is that gets
Yeah.
them off, like that's
Yeah.
what they're doing. So
Yeah.
like for me, it's like I'm there to tell a story. I'm there to build make history. I want to be able to document it the best way possible. I want to make an ad, the best ad that's going to be so organically received and do numbers. You know what I mean? Like Travis Barker's. If anyone goes back and looks up, it's on my Instagram or his Instagram. You go look at it. But like
Yeah.
that was like a cool example of like the brand makes cheese. You have this cool guy that plays drums who's also vegan. They're probably a good partnership, so they made a deal. And then they're like, we need someone to make a cool video about it. But like, how do we make making a quesadilla cool? And then I'm sitting there like, well, if he just literally says like, "Hey, I love vegan cheese. This is so good. You guys should try it." Then that's fucking corny as shit. We also know
Yeah.
Travis Barker doesn't have to talk. He just looks fucking cool. He just lets his music and his vibe fucking do the speaking for him,
Yeah.
but he's minimalist. So I'm like, all right, let me rethink the wheel on this one because like we need him to say certain things without saying certain things. What do we want him to know? So I'm like, what if I take this fad of ASMR as well as watching cool drumming because people just like that's popular on TikTok is just like drummers doing dope like fucking covers of songs
Yeah.
or doing like their own thing. And like let's combine those two. Let's have like the cooking process of him going through the motions. But the key was I wanted to feel like me and Travis are friends. I'm his friend that plays. I'm the friend with the camera. He's a friend with the drum set skills. And we're just chilling at the crib and then he starts like banging a beat and I'm like, yo, we should make a video. Let's do this. All right, now grab the cheese. Do this. All right, now pull it out of the thing. I'm gonna cut this together and just make a fun little video for Instagram. I want it to feel like that's something that him and his camera person would do,
Yeah.
instead of it feeling like an ad where we brought in a camera team. So I had to like
Oh
find a way
yeah.
to pull that off, and we did. And the video, I think their goal was like hit 1 million views or whatever, and it hit like 5.5 million views, and it like crushed. And then afterwards, when we did the second video, Travis is like, "Bro, like, um, the not only like the vegan community but the drumming community both fucking loved that last video. It felt so authentic. Like, they thought it was like the coolest way to do
Yeah.
an ad was
Authenticity is
it
so
just
huge right
felt,
now.
yeah, it just felt real." And I'm like, "Bro, that's because I'm obsessed with music. I'm obsessed with you being you, and you are a person that created a space for all of my bands to feel like we can exist on a bigger platform than just like grunge and shit. Like, you are someone that I idolized for so long. I'm not gonna come in here and be like, all right, now just look at the camera and fucking, can you just say, I love this? You know what I mean? Like, I want it to feel like
Yeah.
some real shit that you
Yeah.
would actually like to share." And
Yeah.
so we made that and we did it again. So like he's been pumped on both of them. So, but I think that's just, I don't even know why the fuck I'm talking about that. What were we talking about? Authenticity or
Yeah.
like,
Authenticity and just being a value, the value
yeah.
where you, like,
He noticed my value was
yeah.
that I want to make something that is so aligned with him. I truly care about him as an artist and him from a music standpoint, that I could have
And
the
not just
vision
using
to
him
make
as a
something.
pawn to make
Yeah.
money for this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though that's my job, is like, and that's everyone's job, and we all know that's the end goal, but like
Yeah.
there's a cooler way to do it than just be like kind of like a just follow the typical way of doing it. And like I was like, I'm not going to do that. I want to make this feel fucking real and different. I'm going to say that shit. I'm not going to be afraid of saying that shit, because at the end of the day, I go back home. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not supposed to be directing the video for Travis Barker and the vegan cheese company. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
every time I'm not supposed to be that guy, but if I just voice my shit, somehow I seem to be on the right path with my suggestions, because it just keeps getting me more and more work. You know what I mean? Like, with people I admire and look up to and shit. So it's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Because you took something so simple and you made it into a experience
Hmm.
that people can watch, and they don't even feel like they're watching an ad. That's like the key. That's the trick. Kind of
Yeah,
is
that was
crazy.
literally my goal. I was
Yeah.
like, the if we don't have to show the cheese as much, it will help. Like, if we don't, and no one wants to hear that. And so we did it. And then this
Yeah.
next time we were like,
Because
all
they're
right, can
like,
we
we
make
want
it
to
a
see the
little less?
product.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I was like, but we will, and it'll feel like normal. Like, yeah, we had the fridge had a little bit too much cheese in there. Like, no one's just having
No
that
one
much
has it.
fucking dairy
Yeah.
on
No
them,
one's.
or
Yeah.
vegan dairy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, uh, but it's still fun, and like, even though you realize it's an ad, it felt like some shit he might create on a Wednesday because he's just bored at the crib and he wanted to like get some drumming out of there. So it's like, it's cool. It's cool to see that type of shit happen, and I think that that's why people recognize my value or like my mindset, and can see that I have like, I care about the art more than making money. And but that's how I started. So I feel for people that are just starting because they're like, oh, this is a cash flow thing, and like they want to make videos, but they like literally aren't thinking of it from a storytelling perspective or whatever. And I get that it's totally possible to do it that way. But those people sometimes fall into the path in the lane that I'm in, and you can see where it's going to be tough for them to adapt and survive, because I'm around, why we call them artists. You know what I mean? Because they're making art and shit. They're not just like trying to make checks come in regularly. Of course, that ends up becoming part of it because but at the end of the day, like, everyone came in to like really make and make something that people can have with them.
And you're
And
making stuff that you want to see, like with these artists, like you would want to see this type of
totally.
content. And I think
Yeah.
that's a big part of it. I saw a clip of I don't know if you're a fan of Rick Rubin.
Hmm.
He's like, if you're making like whether it's music or whatever you're making, if you're not making it for you, it's not gonna work. If you don't like it, it's probably not
Yeah.
gonna work very well for you.
Yeah.
Or at least
It probably won't.
it's not gonna be
No.
rewarding. Yeah.
There's definitely been shit like that too that I've done. And I know we probably have to wrap it up, but like there's been
Yeah.
like times where I've done job, like my biggest thing was always saying yes to any job I could get my hands on, and I would say yes to anything until you develop like the ability to say no. So I always
Hmm.
like, I love that kind of mindset, but I would say yes to jobs that aren't like the thing I thought would be like it's not the coolest shit in the world, or maybe it's like this person's like little bar down the street and they
Yeah, you
wanted to
got
get
it.
like shots of the beer. And you're like, whatever. But I treated it like it was the best job I ever had. Like I
Yeah,
was like, I'm gonna make the illest version of this fucking product shot or something. Like I'm
yeah.
like, this isn't what I want to do in my life, but this
Hmm.
person needs this done and I'm gonna help them facilitate it some way. Um, yeah, I think just having that mentality and that mindset's always gonna be, it's just gonna help you out. But anyways, we've been off some tangents. So that was fun.
No, you're good. Yeah, that was good. I
Yeah, it was a
appreciate it,
great
man.
conversation, bro.
Yeah. I didn't expect to be able to keep it this long. Yeah, good timing.
Yeah, sorry everyone. I talk a
Yeah.
lot.
No, that's good, man. That's good. And you've been off your podcast game. You needed to talk a little bit.
Yeah, I needed to fucking exercise the pipes, man. Yeah, but coming from let's hold myself to it. February, whatever the first Sunday is in February, that's when we're gonna drop episode one, which
Okay.
said it here. So
So black with no cream. I'll put a link in the description. I'll put all all that good stuff. So I'll
yeah,
tag in all that stuff. So it'll be yeah. So we'll wrap this up. I appreciate you being on the podcast, man. And I'm proud of seeing what you've done, man. It's been awesome. It's motivation for me. It's motivation for a lot of people. And yeah, keep doing what you're
appreciate that,
doing.
dude.
And
No,
yeah,
same to you, man. Thanks for recording this podcast. I feel like it's good. I mean, people need to hear these types of conversations, and
yeah,
I mean, even if this one's just for me, for 10 years from now, and I get to run it back and listen to what the fuck I was thinking about, you know what I mean? In 2024, it's cool to have these platforms. So I appreciate people that put in. I know what the work that it takes to do podcasts like this and to, tell these stories and try to share this conversation. So it's good. It's good that you're doing this shit.